welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast. My name is Vera, and I'm joined, as always, by my two bewinged co-hosts, Katie.
Hi.
And Livy.
Hi, I say as my giant heavy wings just like drag me backwards.
As two men are holding them on each side.
That's nice. I like having them there.
Well, we are in season 5.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
That's crazy talk.
And that is crazy talk. I guess before we get to any kind of talk about season 5 that we should discuss real fast, some scheduling updates.
Oh, fun stuff.
Yeah, it is fun for the coming weeks.
Next week, Chakram.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
Yep.
But then the week after that, that's the week of April 30th, we are going to be at the Z-Night retreat, so we will not have a podcast for you on that day.
Giving you enough advance notice so that you're not surprised.
Don't be too sad.
Don't be sad.
Yeah.
But just know that we're yucking it up at the Z-Night retreat. So while you have nothing to listen to, we'll be talking.
And recording.
Yeah, that's right. We're
Stuff
going to
for
be...
you to listen to.
Right, so if any listeners are going to the Z-Night retreat, you will be able to see us do a live show.
First and
only so far. We will be recording Them Bones.
All right. So if you are going to be there and are going to attend the live show, if you want to, between now and that weekend, watch Them Bones to prepare.
Right, yeah.
Be our guest.
We expect you to watch it 5 or 6 times. Really memorize that shit.
Absolutely.
But also, if you want to think of some cues for us as well.
Right. And then, so later that episode, once we actually hit that on our trail here in season 5, we will release it to everyone, and you will be able to hear Them Bones.
Live
from
the Z-Night retreat.
Yep.
Hopefully. If it doesn't get erased or something. Or it doesn't, whatever.
Kate doesn't erase it afterwards herself.
No promises, that's what I'm saying.
Cool. So that's that update. Anything else? No.
No updates
5.
regarding the podcast.
Yes.
But yeah, season 5.
Let's do this.
How do you guys?
5.
What are your season 5 feels in a general sense?
I don't know.
Well, you know, one time when we started watching Twin Peaks, I had a piece of information, like a word of advice that was given to me that I want to use from now on for people when you're trying to guide them through something.
Sure.
And season 5 is a trying period.
There's some parts
of it. Not
Parts
the
of
whole
it.
season.
No, yes.
No.
But comparatively to the rest of the show,
it doesn't come up first on my list of seasons.
I would say it's
However,
last on
I
my
think
list.
that there are, for some, it is a favorite. So that'll be interesting to go through.
Its highs are very high.
Very high highs.
Its lows are very low,
Very
much
low.
like
Yeah.
heaven and hell.
Whoa. That's deep. Yeah. I thought that it starts off very strong.
I agree.
So, and it certainly ends incredibly strong.
Well, and the season has some challenges.
Yeah.
Story-wise.
Yeah, we're kind of back to where we were in season 2, where an unexpected development kind of outside the show
Wait a minute.
affected.
Unexpected or?
Well, we don't know.
We don't exactly. We can't speculate on
surmise
what was up with Lucy and Rob, but she is pregnant in season 5, and that certainly changed their plans. For the season. Do we know anything about what the original plans would have been?
Nope, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we'll.
There's definitely an interview of an arc, but it's not I don't think
Steve Sears outlined
it was
a Twilight of the Gods.
Yeah,
scenario.
so it wasn't
that's what I'm thinking.
If Lucy wasn't pregnant the entire
Yeah.
season, that's not what I'm talking about.
Listeners, feel free if there is information out there about what the show would have been in season 5 had Lucy not gotten knocked up by the executive producer of Xena. What would that have been?
Awkward. Yeah. Well, it's a trying period.
They knew from the end of season 4, but already to planning this season.
Sure.
So.
Well, certainly the heaven and hell stuff, or the Christianity, I think was going to happen.
Absolutely.
And so that remained as planned, and I think used very effectively in season 5. and makes a lot of sense for the end of season 5 too. So I like that part.
That's what you're looking forward to for season 5?
Yeah, the good stuff, and then the stuff I don't like is maternity wear on Xena.
Well, I love
don't
that.
Like
what can you do though?
Don't like it.
You have these challenges that
put a box in front. Have her carry files.
Scully,
just a big purse,
lots of shopping bags.
She can't stand behind a drawer like Scully.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's such a tricky problem for them to work with because how do you have this warrior who's pregnant? And
I like that
they write that into
wrote
the
it
show.
in. I do think that is a fascinating story, and I absolutely like certain aspects of it. Yeah,
I agree that if you're gonna do stuff right, I feel like starting on the right foot is to write it in.
Yes, I agree. Don't be in denial about it. The fact that they immediately say, well, Xena's pregnant, and how'd that happen? And how does it affect her life? How does it affect her relationship with Gabrielle? How does it affect her vision for herself and her future? Right. I think those are interesting questions for the show to tackle.
Yep. And I think I'm looking forward to it.
Are you looking forward to anything in particular?
Married with fish sticks.
Oh, snap.
Counting the days.
Baby row. Praise hands emoji.
Exciting.
So shall we begin with this episode? Fallen Angel.
Fallen Angel.
501.
In the arms of
God.
an angel.
What?
Whoa. Yikes. Story by Rob Tafford and R.J. Stewart, and this one's directed by John Fawcett. It's our return.
And R.J. wrote the teleplay.
Right. And it's, we haven't seen John in a while, huh?
John directed The Way.
We have seen him
most recent,
very recently.
His first credit on Xena was The Way. Then he went off and directed Ginger Snaps, maybe?
Oh, right.
We're not exactly sure where Ginger Snaps happened in this sequence of events. But we know that Lucy did that voice on the intercom in Ginger Snaps, so it must have been around now. Anyway, John did a great job with a very tricky episode, The Way. There was a lot of world building in that episode, so I think that really fits him for this episode, in which he literally has to create 2 worlds from scratch. Basically, all these sets are CG. It's
for the most part.
It's so technically ambitious, this episode, that my jaw drops. And obviously, you know.
Well, Eric Grinderman said a really funny thing where he, saw that they were going to film so much of it for the first time ever, on blue screen.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm hemorrhaging money and crying, but
oh no,
but it will be worth it. And I think it was. Yeah.
I'm literally imagining him weeping
money,
money,
dinar tears.
I have to say, every time I watch this episode, I love it even more. And I was kind of expecting, I don't know, I feel like maybe the first time you watch it, it's a lot for your eyeballs. And so you kind of, I don't know, my initial first impression was what the fuck is happening? But every time I watch it, I just kind of go a little bit loopier for it.
It's an interesting episode because it's so out there, both visually and, the plot. It's it's the opposite of grounded. It's so outrageous.
Yeah, because they fly around.
Yeah, it is literally the opposite of grounded storytelling. And yet you have these moments that are so important for the characters. Really great character drama.
What I remembered, from it. I only remembered the character layers for a bunch of these people.
Yeah.
And then you watch it again, you're like, wow, there's a lot of crazy makap and flying around and stuff like that.
Some crazy voices.
Yep.
So much craziness. I wanted to do almost a chart for Xena starts up here, she falls down there, Gabs falls, they switch places. It's just the back and forth of this story is so wacky. It's like doing a dance.
So shall we discuss this?
No.
Well, the first thing you notice if you watch it on Hulu is the fact that a bunch of times season 5 begins with previous or upcoming on Xena.
It's so weird to have the promos on there. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of nice because you kind of see what how the show was marketed in 1999.
Yeah.
You have really macho Mr. Voice being this time on Xena.
What is it? It's really good. It's so dramatic. What does he say? Oh shit, I didn't write it all down. It was like, Xena and Gabrielle fought for their mortal lives and lost. Or something. It was like ridiculous.
And they're playing just like, insane choral music under it, like the Carmina Burana. And it's just like, and the editing, I noticed on both, like I've watched a few episodes now of season 5 to refresh myself, and they're always, like the editing on these promos is crazy.
Yeah. Like, really fast.
It's like really fast. They're just trying to like overwhelm you with like images, which works perfectly for Fallen Angel, which is trying to do the same thing in the actual episode.
So the actual episode begins with Amaris and Jaxer having a meet cute on the mountain.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
This was wild to me because I realized only now that Jaxer wasn't in Ides of March.
Yep.
Like I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He wasn't there.
I'm glad he wasn't. No offense.
I mean, it shows you don't notice that he's not there. But then I'm glad they kind of hit this beat of, he's, he needs to find out. And it's pretty sad when he finds out.
I know.
Of course.
What do you make of his, like, prophetic dreams?
Yeah. Who's sending him these visions?
My first reaction was, that's very convenient. How else would he find out exactly where to go?
Maybe that's how he always knows where to find them.
He's a prophet.
Always turning up.
He
gets
these weird
prophetic
powers.
Dreams being like, there, over there. They have the foot rot. Find them.
Is it the djinn? Does he hear the djinn?
Maybe it's the djinn.
Afterwards I was like, I allowed it because you're having so much like divine intervention in this episode that I'm like, some angel is sending him some information. Maybe
and they clearly need him because he's the one who says take them down from those crosses. Yeah. Like you know, without Jaxer's intervention, they might have stayed up, and Eli wouldn't have thought to try to resurrect them.
Yeah, I like his reaction. Amaris could have warned him a little bit, maybe. Before she kind of
she's like,
swings him around
right there
to show him his crucified dead friends. Is really intense imagery. She should have been like, I gotta tell you something, and then I will show you.
But he didn't notice. He didn't notice climbing up the mountain.
No,
to his right. He also looks at her outfit and was like, "Oh, you must be an Amazon, and you definitely must know Xena and Gabrielle because all Amazons know
each other." Thanks, Jaxer. I really love Ted Raimi's delivery of that line where he resolves that he's going to take their bodies back to Greece. Mm-hmm. He stammers over the words, and it's not like in a kind of like Elmer Fudd stammer. It's just it felt really real and emotional. I think Ted Raimi is in many ways the MVP of this episode because, as I was saying, most of it is so the opposite of grounded. It's sky bound.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to really
to ground this.
Emotionally grounded is absolutely correct.
And you should notice, that the filmmaking is very different for this B plot than it is for the A plot. Mm-hmm. Obviously they're on a set. They're not in a CGI land. There's very little music. You're often just hearing the wind. Yeah. And it's actually, I would say, the dialogue is more naturalistic than what you have in Heaven and Hell. Just even
no melodramatic deliveries.
Stammering over these words to me felt like just a very different tenor of drama.
Yeah. And I have to say, this is the kind of Jaxer I like to see. So I was happy.
Dramatic Jaxer.
Yeah, dramatic Jaxer is my fave Jaxer. So
I also love that in him. Saying that they need to take their bodies back to Greece. It's a reference back to the greater good, how he says that Xena has asked to be buried with her brother. Yeah. And also with Gabrielle.
Right. Yeah. And that's Gabrielle's family does not get a say in this.
No. Clearly she's altered her will now to include Gabrielle, which feels right.
I always, in my head, just assumed he leapt to, Gabrielle's POV.
I think
not
so,
that
too.
It was, Xena wants Gabrielle next to her, but that he was talking about Gabrielle
he
wanting to be next to Xena.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah, that's what I see.
I love that as well. It works both ways.
Both fine.
I think they should both be cool with it.
Yeah. It's totally fine.
So Eli shows up and he knows Jaxer by name. Has he met him? No, but he knows his name. Did he just hear it from the meet cute?
I think Eli just knows stuff.
All right, cool. Jaxer is very insistent on he's gonna do this, even though Amaris is like, well, there's Romans everywhere, it's gonna be very dangerous. But he's like, we have to cut him down let's go.
I also was very creeped out by what Emery says about the Romans, that they're leaving them up to as an example, which is something we have heard Caesar himself say, I think, back in Destiny.
Well, that's what they do.
Yeah.
But
the fact that Emery's is just like, that's what they're doing, so we can't.
Oh, yeah. Let's respect that way.
Exactly. No, Emery's gone. So, yeah, Joxer rightly so immediately is like, I don't care. We're cutting them down.
Yeah.
Okay, and so here we go to some of my favorite imagery, which is a shot, like a hard cut to Xena on the cross. And one of my favorite details is that it's snowing a lot heavier since we were last on this mountain. And snowflakes are collecting on their dead bodies. And I thought that was really, really powerful to see. You know, it's not like the humans who can brush them off. There's a collection of snow on her. And then the camera does this amazing pan up past this very dead Xena.
Yeah.
Through the snow, like the snow is falling on top of the camera, into the heavens where we meet.
It looks really cool.
Xena and Gabrielle.
Yes, we do.
Oh my God.
They are hanging out.
They look like they're lost on their way to Burning Man.
Oh my God, they really do.
They're like,
that is a perfect
where's our
description.
Uber?
Odd system that I don't quite understand.
Yeah.
Where they're just sitting on some rocks.
Yeah. Just kind of like, we don't know what to do.
I guess they're in limbo, like literally.
I guess.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of their dresses?
All right, let's talk about it. The elephant in the room.
They do look like elephants. These are not flattering dresses.
Yeah, they're just, I don't like these dresses, no.
I wonder if they were built this way in part because of the harnesses that they had to wear with them.
That is a likely guess.
They have a weird
shape.
Shape. Yeah, they almost look like, these like bulky bathing suits with then like diaphanous skirts kind of trailing off them. They're very
like the one
odd
shoulder.
looking.
I remember that being popular in 1980.
Gabrielle has the one shoulder, and then like
that was
has like a prom dress, wedding dress style.
Oh yeah, hers is Xena's really is like a bad bridesmaid's dress. That's really
one
what
of
it
my
looked like.
high school dance dresses was definitely a one shoulder. I think they were in at that time. But this is a new costume designer, Jane Holland.
Yeah,
okay.
Nyla Dixon, the costume designer for the first 4 seasons of Xena, has now left to start her work on Lord of the Rings. And she's gonna kick off an exodus. Unfortunately, a lot. Peter Jackson poaches a lot of Xena's.
Fuck you, Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
But then they go on to win Oscars, so that's nice.
Very nice. That's nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, we have to look at these dresses. I mean, what
is the name of the new costume designer?
It's Jane Holland. And she said that her first challenge was the fact that she has to deal with the harnesses. So it's like you have to build a costume around that.
Okay. I certainly understand the idea of these outfits.
Well, they're supposed to mirror kind of like what they were wearing in the floaty...
At the end of season 4. Yeah.
The Shape of Water sequence at the end of season 4.
Right. We didn't get a very close look at those.
They were white flowy bed sheets.
As you recall from our podcast, we didn't care for those either.
I liked it. I liked it. Yeah, I did not expect them to look like this once you're out of the floatiness.
Out of Shape of Water.
Yeah, out of the water.
Maybe something silkier.
I don't know. I would have...
Scully pajama material?
I just feel like you're an angel, or sort of an angel. You should be in something light and airy. You've been set free from your earthly body. These just seem so heavy and stiff.
Not when you have to hide a pregnancy. Yeah. Okay, well, a heart chakra image appears in front of them. That was really cool. I mean, what's really cool about it is that it goes kind of like horizontal. Then the outside circle of the heart chakra, it looks like it's like a sun, kind of like the heat rays of the sun, right? And then
the lotusy petal.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So that suddenly becomes a bunch of angels.
Yes, it does.
And I thought that was the greatest visual transition away from India and into
the
new story.
And transitioning, but also reminding you that India's still here too.
Yeah,
they're trying to combine those.
They are, but I think it's a step.
I don't know.
Away.
That's interesting.
Well, we'll continue to talk about that.
Because I like, for me, my favorite thing is how everything is kind of this coexisting situation.
Yeah, I mean, you can't shed the amount of continuity that's built around India. Even Michael's like, whoa. In Christian heaven, being like, whoa, you have to go and be reborn now.
Yeah, so, that's cool.
I think another reference point for that circle of angels that the chakra turns into is a particular wood engraving by this French artist, Gustave Doré. He was a really popular illustrator back in the day. Basically, he did all the classics. He did the Bible. Oh. He did Alice in Wonderland. Oh. He did Don Quixote. And he did Dante, and I think particularly his Dante illustrations were a big influence for Rob and Company. Cool. And there's this one particular one from the Divine Comedy that is just literally a storyboard for this particular shot where you have the silhouettes of Xena and Gabs looking up at the big circle of angels, these concentric circles, and the way that the angel wings kind of extrude from it, making almost like that flower shape. So it's really cool how this episode uses various kind of reference points in religious art to kind of embody heaven and hell.
So these angels kind of scoop Xena and Gabrielle up, and they're very slowly flying them somewhere, right?
Well, I mean, the actual moment where they're scooped up is interesting, because first it's just Gabs, right? The angels come down for Gabs and scoop her up, and she's like, hey, this is great! And kind of looks back at Xena being like, yeah, look at me! And Xena's kind of like, cool, I've been picked last for gym!
This is where I wrote shoulder hands. Which sounds weird. It sounds like you have a hand growing out of your shoulder. But
explain what that means for
Xena
real.
Grabs her by the shoulder and is like, wait a second.
I want to go too.
Well, there's these two of these angels are, I guess, hero angels, right? They're wearing white. That's, important. So one of them is this dude. He's a grown-up Icus actor.
Yeah. And he is not very good at saying lines.
Yes.
I remembered Icus as being better at lines. Maybe he's going through an awkward stage.
Yeah. And then the other one is this girl angel who looks exactly like Tessa Thompson, I thought.
She does look like Tessa Thompson, who is an actual angel.
Absolutely.
So that makes sense.
So, yeah. So they're flying our gals to, I guess, the middle of this light.
Xena is getting nervous as this is happening.
Yeah, this was a really cool thing, because it's when she's flying, she looks down and suddenly it's scary down there, you know?
Yeah, you get
and the
your
music
first
changes a little bit. Yeah, totally
cue.
a little.
Well, I feel like it was ominous even before, when there was that sense of, Xena's going to be left behind. That seems so important to me that, this is the central fear of the character, that Gabs is going to be welcomed by the angels off to heaven, and it's bye, Xena. Enjoy your rock. So yeah, I feel there's a moment of anxiety there, but then it passes. The angels take her too, but it's she doesn't believe her good luck.
They're laughing and smiling. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's so weird.
A little, it's all very off-putting.
It's creepy, actually.
And even Xena kind of starts laughing too, but you feel her laugh is kind of
nervous. Yeah, it's a nervous laugh.
This is great.
Yeah, but then demons fly up and rip Xena and Gabs out of the arms.
I like the editing of the approach of the demons. You first see them just as these close-up flashes. You see their wings and their fangs and their sword raising. I think maybe they were a little afraid to show you full body demon. I feel we never actually saw got a very good close-up of one. I don't know what they look
Callisto. She's
That's
our
true.
hero demon.
But I feel the non-hero demons maybe
they were
see faces and hooves.
Yeah.
So much.
Just know that they're hooves and they're like bat wings.
Dude, the big fight at the end between the angels
Yeah, don't
and the
look
demons.
too closely at that.
So many of them look like they were from like hair metal bands from like the 80s.
Oh well, like I'll sit here like going like, oh, what are all the art references for hell and stuff later when they get there, and I'm just like, I think it was Meatloaf's Bad Out of Hell cover.
Yeah, seriously.
That's legit. That is legit. And we referenced heavy metal like album cover art for Destiny.
Not that he's heavy metal. I just want to clarify that I don't think Meatloaf is.
Oh, that's true. Good point. Good point. But I think that actually is there in Rob's like image making. He thinks about that shit.
He listens to that shit
for sure while he fishes.
Yeah. So they are falling, and Xena is trying to reach Gabrielle, who's going first. She was first to go to heaven, and then she is first to fly to hell.
Yeah. This is a terrible system. There's not much of a distance. You just could kind of accidentally fall in.
My sense is that heaven and hell are both in their very early stages. It's like, they haven't set it up yet. They're like startups, and they don't really have like infrastructure yet.
Well, it's very interesting, the timelines of things. If you can have such a thing in eternity.
I think you do. I mean, we know that this war has kind of just kicked off between the forces of hell and the angels. So I just feel like Christianity hasn't worked itself out yet. Like, it hasn't really set itself up as a religion. So they're here, but like they don't, like here doesn't quite exist yet.
Yeah. Well, but Michael and wars and all that shit is Old Testament.
That's
so
true.
It would be... I don't know what the timeline is.
Don't overthink it.
Maybe it's complete, guys. Michael, it just looks this way.
My sense...
I think it... Yeah, well, I like the explanation that it's not quite there.
Certainly the angels...
working out the kinks.
The angels seem very confused just by what's supposed to be happening. They're like, oh, no! What?
Like, if Michael and the war and, like, Lucifer, like, he's like, well, we're not there yet, but, like, he references, him falling, which was pre-Adam and Eve.
That's true.
Don't think about it too hard, man.
Okay,
don't think about it too hard.
I don't know these things anyway. I shouldn't even talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, the easiest way to understand the religions of Xena is, like, they don't really, like, start existing until people start believing in them.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, I feel like that's why heaven and hell are still kind of only vaguely sketched in, because Eli is still walking around alive. A lot of the belief system is only halfway there.
Yeah. Oh, I do think that, like, some of the stuff that I looked up that, like, were biblical passages that referred to stuff within the episode, like, even if you go back to, like, early, like, when you translate stuff, when you have the word hell and you read that now, originally it would have said Tartarus. That's how.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good reminder, too, that, a lot of the ideas from classical, like from Greek mythology, are worked into Christianity. Like, it's not like these are two hard and fast systems. One turns into the other in many ways.
Well, they're falling.
Yep. It's just as camp and ridiculous as everything else.
Yeah.
Hooray.
I love that you get the shot of the two hands reaching, a bit Sistine Chapel, almost, reaching.
A lot of this, guys, remind me of this terrible movie I used to watch a lot. Oh, God, it's so bad. Terminal Velocity, starring Charlie Sheen and Nastasia Kinski, where it was about people jumping out of airplanes.
That does seem related.
Like, that's like when you have your head down and you're like body stiff and you're falling, like that's like the terminal velocity. So like Xena is doing that right now to catch up to Gabs.
Yeah, so that actually makes you fall faster, like than the other
according
person.
To this movie,
because you're like more. That's what must be right.
Yeah, clearly.
I didn't think that's how gravity works, but sure, you can fall at different speeds.
Yeah. So she's about to catch up to Gabs, but then suddenly her hand is grabbed by Callisto!
Hey,
Demon Callisto!
Okay, immediately I have questions. Okay, we saw her in hell at the end of, at the beginning of Ides of March. Mm-hmm. It did not look like this. She didn't look like this.
Work it out yet. Well, the assumption is that she got more punished because she failed at her task.
Interesting.
Of getting Caesar to be controlled by the devil.
Yeah, and it seems like she's almost gone from being like a tortured soul in hell to being like a demon, like, higher up the chain of command.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean,
she's definitely
a hero demon here, that's for sure. But they didn't want to cast any other ones. So. But she also implied that, maybe it's like a personal weakness because she gave in to eating the fruit and stuff.
That's interesting.
She implied that that's going to happen to Gabrielle.
Yeah.
So.
What was Callisto's personal weakness? Her personal weakness, her eating of the fruit, was throwing that chakram. That was her kind of giving in to temptation.
So there you go. Well, I love that she's like, pretty to Xena and then punches her.
So I guess she likes that dress.
I guess she's fine with it, yeah.
I would like to just very quickly mention that the demon makeup is very, very, very buffy. Very buffy.
Oh,
very buffy
good
indeed.
point. Yes, it is very, very buffy. I like the demon makeup on Hudson especially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she looked fantastic. Cool. And like her hair looked perfect with this.
This really fits, yeah.
She honestly looked like the most natural.
I agree. And she really knows how to work like her physicality to be monstrous. And it's really interesting to read like about her experience of working with the wings, which she hated. Yes. Not because they were heavy and cumbersome, but that she needed these two men to move them for her, and she's like, but these are part of my performance. Like, I want to be able to have control
fluttering them around
over what they do.
Whatever,
that sounds frustrating. I feel like that's so Hudson though, because really for her body is an instrument for her acting, and you see how to have something on your body that you're not in perfect control of. For her, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
So Xena and Callisto fight as they're flying around. Xena manages to kind of like jump onto this rock and.
I just we already talked about it, but I remember this. I just imparting my notes. Sorry, it's just that Xena's dress is a nope. This is where I noticed.
Oh, you noticed it as she's hanging off the rock?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Also, when you have fights in midair, they're just so weird to me because what are they jumping off of? You see them kind of kicking and flipping. How do you flip
each other?
Really, they're just flipping off each other.
Yep. Yeah.
I somehow the way it's choreographed, it just breaks my brain because it seems like gravity exists.
Don't think too hard.
But then gravity does not exist.
Just, sit back, let it happen. And then
so Xena can't fly yet. So
no, she can't. So that's what
her
she's
movements
hanging.
Make more sense.
Yeah, so she's desperately clinging to this rock and it's about to break. And then it actually does. Oh no.
But what's gonna happen?
Yeah, she's gonna fall to hell, but nope. She is rescued by more angels, but they look different than the previous angels.
These are some battle angels.
Badass angels.
The archangels.
Oh, yeah.
Led by Charles Mazur, who we have seen twice before.
Yep.
He was in The Dirty Six. He was the dirtiest of the Dirty Six. And then he was in The Price.
Yeah. So now he's Archangel Michael.
He looks very good. I think this is his most attractive Xena look.
Yeah, well, I mean, I liked him in The Dirty Six. He's not my fave angel from the Angels.
I know. Well, we're going to get there. The other actor from The Price, who's also cast as an angel. I don't know why. The Price,
I don't know,
they were just let's get all those guys back. So actually, you know what? I really love that because The Price, that was an endless battle between the Athenians and the Horde. Here you have an endless battle between the angels and the demons of hell. I think it's really interesting and grim that Xena and Gabrielle die. They go to a place where you expect, maybe there won't be war anymore. That would be nice. Yeah. If finally, after, they're out of the cycle of violence, hooray. Oh, up here, it's literally nonstop.
For eternity.
Commanders and battles, and it just goes on and on and on.
So, the angels fight the demons, and they rescue Xena. They take her back to Casa de Angels.
He takes her to Los Angeles, the city of angels.
Oh, remember City of Angels? the movie?
That's a great movie.
Good times.
Great soundtrack, at least.
Yep. So, yeah, Michael explains dramatically, your friend has been taken to hell.
I love how he does like a dramatic swish.
Oh yeah. This guy's dramatic.
He just stalks off, dramatic swish. Oh, I found out that this is not his first appearance, actually, Michael? He was in the finale of the previous season of Hercules. So they're actually already setting up some of this Christianity stuff like in Hercules, but we don't go there.
Wow.
So how does Hercules?
Is there
more Christianity stuff on Hercules? Because that's weirdly more interesting to me.
They do a lot of Dayhawk. I think Dayhawk transitions into some of these.
Okay.
I like the progression of all this stuff on this show so much. I know people can have like bigger, larger issues with it, but like, it's there from the beginning. They start telling lots of biblical stories, and then like the Dayhawk stuff was just such a fun like inversion.
Yeah.
When we talked about like Rosemary's Baby, it's like
right in the Omen,
of like
absolutely
all this stuff.
Yeah, they were doing
Hope,
Christian
Stable
horror.
Baby, Good times.
So that's been part of the DNA of the show all along. So for me as a viewer, like this doesn't come as a surprise suddenly that we're in full scale Paradise Lost. This feels inevitable in some ways that the show would eventually have to go here.
People did not like that, it seemed. And it's at least like an interesting, like, I don't know.
People didn't like the Hinduism either.
Right.
So I don't know if it's specific to Christianity so much as people being like, no, like this show is about Greek mythology.
Right.
Like whenever you stray away from that, it's a different program. But we like that different program.
Well, it's easier for like this is show obviously mostly for like in playing in Western countries and stuff. You're going to have a lot more people with a lot more connection to Christianity. Whether it's going to like offend you or not is a different story. I feel like a lot more people have more just either connection with it or cultural baggage with it. So it's like a lot more like, I don't know. I feel like it inspires more feeling.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Certainly for me as a viewer, like this imagery is just so much more familiar to me than, like what we saw in The Way, where I was just like, this is so cool. I'm learning so much just looking at this. Here I'm like, oh yeah, how are they going to do those archangels? Oh yeah, hell, all right. I mean, I think that's in part why they have to take it to such a spectacular place in terms of the technology that they're using, is it's like they know like that this is familiar territory for their viewers, so how can they really like live up to that? How can they make that religious art come alive on screen?
So Xena wants to rescue Gabrielle, obviously, and she says it's her responsibility, which I thought was very
the archangels are like, we do that because we're like the warriors.
Yeah,
she's like, no.
Well, he's like, Michael's like, you're not even an angel. You're supposed to be reborn.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of India creeping in, a reminder that, these cosmologies can actually live side by side. You can go to heaven kind of as a stopgap, and then you get sent right back down to Earth.
It's pretty fun.
Reincarnated.
And Xena's like, well, that's just going to have to wait.
She has some really good lines here.
Oh, we were asked in an email about what it means for Xena to be reborn after this, like the timeline of it all, right? And like, does her involvement in this plot, like, and her saying that's gonna have to wait, mean she like won't somehow
be reborn as Armanestra,
right?
That's not my understanding.
No, that's not my understanding.
Yeah, my response to that would be that like this is supposed to be eternity, so there's no timelines in eternity.
Armanestra's waiting for her. We don't even think Armanestra is her next reincarnation. I think
they made it
a few generations in the future.
I think they made it seem like it was, though.
I mean, that may just be unclear, like in the writing. But my sense was that it would take her some time. You know, we saw several babies being born in that montage.
That's true, yeah.
That transmitted her into Armanestra.
Right.
So I think it's meant to be a few hundred years in the future and probably a few lifetimes for Xena.
That's fine.
Which makes, I mean, I kind of prefer that. I'd rather Xena, like, take a while to become a saintly mother of peace.
Right.
I feel like going straight from being warrior princess to that is a leap. The events of Fallen Angel don't negate the events of Between the Lines. It's just a matter of kind of trying to square those two ideologies together and seeing how Xena can go to heaven and be reborn at a later date.
Well, she wants to go to hell to rescue Gabrielle, and she's insisting on it. I really like how Michael's like, that's impossible. And she says, no, it's not. And then she says it again. No, it's not.
Because, I mean, this sucks that, like, they died together. The idea that now they're not going to share eternity together, even though that was what was promised to them in Between the Lines. Like, Xena will not stand for this.
I mean, she's so hardcore. She just goes to the edge of that, like, whatever cliff that they live on and just falls, man. She just, like, dives right off.
Throws herself
no
off.
thinking.
Yeah.
I do love the lines that she delivers here. She says, Gabrielle and I have already been through hell together. I didn't come all this way to lose her now. Gabrielle's soul and mine were destined to be together. I can't let her walk through hell alone. These lines are so good, you're going to hear them again. Put a pin.
Don't forget the please.
Yes.
That's so good.
Yeah, and the way Lucy delivers that please,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I think it's interesting that Michael's such an unhelpful figure in this episode. Like, he's mostly always talking, you know, he's trying to convince Xena to leave Gabrielle in hell. Later, he'll try to convince Gabrielle to help him cut Xena into little pieces.
Yeah.
He's not exactly a likable figure, despite being an angel of heaven.
Yeah. He doesn't
if
have
anything,
time for this stuff.
Yeah, he
That's the
feels a
thing.
bit like not actually interested in, you know, in like saving the love of these two characters. Like that, like
He hasn't been watching the show, and he's not invested in this trip.
Yeah,
okay?
and I feel like he's such a battle commander. He's so just like, how do I defeat the forces of hell? That's all he cares about. He's not actually like that interested in the safety of these souls right now.
Xena is basically asking to be made an angel so she can have a pair of wings and help them go and get Gabrielle. Meanwhile, Gabrielle, in hell...
She has a rude awakening the morning after the walk of shame.
Yeah, so she's like the little spoon in this creepy cuddle.
My favorite... Okay, listen. Okay. Our souls are destined to be together, and then cut to this, right?
Canoodling.
And the Gabrielle, okay, so, like, we know it's pre-established that, like, Xena likes to, like, flop her arm over Gabrielle, like, from an earlier episode, you know, when Gabrielle wasn't there. So now here, like, Gabrielle lifts up this arm that's draped over her, sees that it has a crazy claw hand, and still goes, Xena?
You could have grown your nails really long.
Whoa, it's good.
But I love that Gabrielle's stay in hell kicks off with her sort of suggestively cuddling with Callisto. That's part of hell. Is like this,
Callisto gets it on with both Gabs and Xena this episode.
She really does. Callisto's the winner of this episode.
She's staying up all night to get lucky.
Oh, jeez. I feel like this is a coin in the jar, but it's Callisto, so she's allowed.
Yeah, she's allowed, man. She's suffered. So she's like, morning, honey. Aren't you lucky? You get to spend eternity with me.
This is, I assume, a callback to Return of Callisto, where she says that to Xena, that she's looking forward to spending eternity with Xena.
Here is where Hudson has, like, the most incredible physicality maybe ever.
Everything she's doing with her fingers.
Yeah.
If you'll allow it.
Everywhere. Like, when she the way she crawls, and you hear the sound of her kind of, like, hands and feet, like, smoshing on the ground. It's just such a great, like, animal noise.
I also love when Callisto is sort of, like, crouched up on this rock, and you see her wings kind of, like, spread out behind her, and she kind of, like, flaps them, like, with her arms. Like, she reaches for them and kind of paddles them.
They're supposed to go do it on their own.
Well, I feel like that's her trying to assert more control over them, like, herself. She's like, look at them go. I'm making them go.
I thought it was a great move. Like, she's, doing this little shimmy, trying to settle her wings. It's pretty great.
It is really, You really feel like those are a part of her more than for some of the other actors. Yeah. She's just such an amazing physical performer.
Yeah.
And also, I just, all the finger stuff, it's so good. Oh. Everything she's doing with those long nails is so much fun. Yes, I know.
All the finger stuff?
I know the finger stuff. Har. You are children. So there's a table set out for Gabrielle, because hell's not such a bad place. They certainly seem to have more catering than heaven.
Bananas?
Yeah, a few bananas in hell.
And some wine.
And some wine.
Yeah.
And Callisto's like, eat it, my little dumpling. So this feels very like Persephone in the underworld, that she, like, if she eats there, she'll have to stay there.
Yeah. She, like, immediately gets it.
Yeah, she's like, you want me to eat it?
Yeah.
No, I won't.
Probably from that, yeah.
And, props to Gabs. Of course Gabs, like, wouldn't be so easily tempted. Gabs is better than this.
No, and she's adamant Xena's gonna come rescue
right,
her.
yeah. But Callisto is ready for Xena and the Angels, which is a really good band name, to go down there and try to make a rescue attempt, yeah. She's like, no doubt Xena is going to come down here and do some kind of self-sacrificing act.
Oh, it's good delivery on that one.
Great. And I love that she says that in such a dismissive way. It's quite ironic considering what the self-sacrifice turns out to be.
It's a wonderful foreshadowing in, like, the most unexpected way. I love it.
Isn't it ironic?
Don't you?
Oh. And regarding the fruit, we kind of mentioned it briefly, but Callisto's line, also very great delivery of, oh, but you will eat it, believe me.
Makes me think Callisto has some sad story of how she, too, tried to withstand the temptation of hell, but couldn't.
Yeah. And then you have another really incredible hard cut to dead Gabrielle on the cross.
Yes, I loved that. I love that it was to Gabrielle this time. Yeah, right. Using that for shock value. It was shocking indeed. Yeah. And here's the first time where you're really aware of just how grounded that storyline is. The coloring is so different. You have this sort of...
Well, it's nighttime now, too.
It's nighttime, it's washed out, it's sort of blue and cold, and that obviously is a huge contrast, certainly with hell.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you have this completely inappropriately dressed Roman guard walking around, and he's very cold because, yes, it's snowing and he's inappropriately dressed. Well, not for long, because Amory's just kills him.
Ooh, she kills
all of them.
Yeah, she's very slashy here.
Oh, yeah.
And I like
she's also inappropriately dressed, by the way.
For once, Joxer just, because he knows he's in a dramatic episode, he doesn't try to fight at all.
Yes.
He just kind of
He lets her do it. It's great, yeah.
I also love that he then removes his hat, because he's like, oh yeah, it really
is stupid. Let's not have it in here.
This is only for the comedy episodes. Better take that off before we do the really intense dramatic taking people down from the crosses scene. So this is a silent montage. Basically in slow-mo. It's quite beautiful. Lyrical,
Yeah, it is. That's a really good word for it, because that's exactly what it is. You have Eli, because you need two people, right, for each person. There's the person who takes the nails out, and then the person who catches the falling body. So for Xena, Eli climbs up, and he takes the nails out of her hands, and Joxer catches Xena. And then for Gabrielle, it's Joxer who gets the nails out, and Amory's catches her. And I was wondering if there was
some symbolism there.
Yeah.
Who's involved?
Well, I mean, I thought that for Gabrielle, it made a lot of sense. Like, Joxer, who loves her, takes the nails out, and Amory's, who is an Amazon, catches her.
Yeah.
And, like, they had their own issues before, but still, there's a respect there.
It's interesting, then, that Eli is there to free Xena. Yeah. So she was very involved with him freeing himself from his doubt. So maybe there is something nice there. I, of course, loved just the irony of having Eli, who's our Jesus figure, taking people down from a cross. That felt very weighted.
Yeah, that was really, really fascinating.
Yeah, and the close-ups are appropriately horrifying, and the makeup that they did on them is really, really good. You feel the impact of it in the way that you're supposed to. So good.
And again, I really do love that they look very dead, and because of specifically the snow on them.
And the theremin haunted house music is
back.
It's back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We love it. We love that haunted house music.
I do. Hi, Phil.
We have our own little demon here today.
Hello.
It's Phil the Frenchie. He has a lot of thoughts about fallen angels.
So Xena goes to the Archangel DMV to get her wings. And she goes to this cave, and on one side there's fire, and then on one side there is like a little waterfall situation.
This whole vision in the cave situation totally reminded me of Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back going into the cave.
Of course.
What's in there? Only what you take with you.
Oh. The water door reminded me of Bittersweet.
Yeah. Yes. And then the fire reminded me of Gabrielle's
Well, of
trial.
course, we have all of our various readings about the elements and their symbolism for Xena, and usually we think of Xena as having water as her element. So you would think she would choose water, because that's her. Right. But instead she goes for Callisto's element, the fire.
It all works with this episode.
The cleansing fire.
Yeah.
But I guess, you see that, and you think, oh, go through the water. That looks easier and safer.
She got literally burned by it in Bittersweet.
That's true. Maybe she was like, oh, I'm not going through that water again. That didn't let me through. But yeah, I am curious about what that choice is. What is she choosing there, that fire and the water? What would have happened if she'd gone through the water? Would she not have become an angel?
I think it's
she's choosing like the hard path.
Yeah, it's an obvious
easy path.
And it's an obvious kind of choice. Like, well, clearly you should choose the fire.
If you choose the fire, then you get the water. It's like she's going for instant gratification if she goes straight for the water.
Raphael, my favorite angel.
To go with your favorite goon, Theodorus. You have a favorite goon and a favorite angel.
Oh my god, he looks just so good here.
This is Tamati Rice, who was Verkinix, and also he was in The Price. I think that's when you first
he was. No, we don't look at him in The Price. As Verkinix, we like him.
Yeah.
But we love him.
Well, once he gets the long hair and
the beard.
Yeah, the beard.
I think I heard you said it. He looks like a mixologist from Brooklyn making me a cocktail, and I appreciate it.
A heavenly cocktail.
Yeah. So I have like little hearts written around him. Raphael. So he's like, man, Xena's driver's test is taking way too long.
I love the cut, though. It's just like she's in the cave, and then it's like, she's been in there for way too long. Yeah. It's like, she just got in.
And then 2 seconds later, here she comes on fire. Yeah. And he's like, oh, never mind.
This was a gorgeous effect, I thought.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Well, it's the fire of purification.
It kind of looked like wings. It was like she had wings of fire, like, off her back. It was cool. I was like, oh, this is like avenging Angel Xena.
Yeah, and so she then goes into this big vat of Red Bull. Because
it gives her wings.
It gives her wings, you guys.
I was thinking a bit more. It's like, of course, the final destination would be a hot tub. Only a hot tub. Yeah,
basically.
That's what Xena finds in paradise. One beautiful hot tub to give her wings.
So yeah, this is some Red Bull which sanctifies her existence, and her cleansing is now complete.
Mm-hmm. So she emerges with her new look.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a child in the park this morning wearing the same sandals.
Oh, yeah. Man, all right, the sandals. We have to discuss this.
They're just straight up, like, Payless Shoes sandals.
Yeah, this was totally a flashback to my time in whatever school year I was. Everybody had these. This is so funny. I mean, of course, it's back now, yeah. I had a question for, I guess, later, but I can ask it now.
Okay.
Why do you think Xena, as an angel, has closed-toed shoes while Gabrielle has open-toed shoes?
I guess because Gabrielle got a pedicure and Xena did not.
Cool.
I really love Gabrielle's Archangel costuming, but I wasn't wild about Xena's. Like, the long dress like the red and black dress, like to me was so not Xena. I know again,
every part of her costume this year is
There's some cool promo stills of her that look really, really rad.
I do like her hair. Yeah, the hair is awesome.
Yeah. And her face is awesome.
Her face is always awesome. But yeah, it's extra good hair. It's just, I get it. I get that there's mitigating circumstances. Like you said, there's a very specific silhouette that she can only rock right now. So they have to stick with like the long flowy dress. Yeah. But it to me, it didn't quite fit with the like militaristic aesthetic.
It worked for me. I wasn't really paying too close attention to it, to be perfectly honest with you.
Because you were like...
I was just looking at Raphael. So this is, we go to commercial with this image of her, like, heroically getting her wings. And when we come back from commercial, it's like a, boom, there's dead Xena, like, laying there.
It's much more effective without the commercials in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really
because you really feel the, you know, the highs and the lows, literally.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so she's kind of like laid out, and she's blue, and she's dead, and this is a close-up. And then we have Amory's cutting a piece of her hair.
This was a nice moment.
This was an interesting situation.
This was the first time where I really thought, whoa, is Amory's in love with Xena?
Whoa. Is she?
I don't know. It's a question that we should consider.
I think she definitely looked up to Xena.
Yeah, I think she more than looked up, worships her in some way. Yeah. You know, wants a lock of her hair to treasure forever. It's a pretty intense move. That was interesting,
yeah. And so she kind of like goes off towards camera to do a speech to Xena, who, you know, the dead can hear your thoughts.
Which is interesting because we've been cutting back and forth, and it doesn't seem like they can.
It seems to me that it only works if you're in the Elysian Fields, right?
Or Tartarus.
Yeah. Like, so if you're in Greek heaven or hell, you can hear it. That rule only applies to that.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
That's really fascinating.
That's when that rule was introduced.
Yeah. So she kind of talks to Xena and also us about how she wants to uphold her memory and continue her journey
for her.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I thought it was nice to have those words come from Amaris, who is sort of the new Gabrielle in some ways, like this new mentee figure. Right. So the student who wants to honor the teachings of the master. It's
of
nice.
The warrior princess,
of the warrior princess.
So then she kind of also goes off on Eli.
Yeah. This was great. Yeah, I love how Joxer's like, Xena would have liked that speech you made. And Eli kind of was like, yeah, she would have. And Amaris is like, don't you.
How dare you.
Don't you talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she confronts him basically saying that his way slowed them down to the point where he might as well have nailed them to the cross himself.
Which is intense. Very harsh.
Really harsh.
To call the pacifist arc, with such words is very harsh.
And he, Joxer is kind of like defending him for a sec, and he allows it because I think he's feeling similarly.
Yeah, I think Amaris is saying things that Eli himself has thought about it. It's eating at him. Mm-hmm. And I really like the way the pacifist arc is treated here, that in retrospect you can look back and be like, oh, this is actually the number one thing that led to their deaths. Yikes. Oh my God. Like, it's upsetting, and I think an interesting way of looking at things. I obviously don't think this is entirely fair. I don't think you're supposed to think it's fair. But I think it is there. That is certainly how Gabrielle got captured, the fact that she had given up the sword. And Gabrielle getting captured is what put events in motion.
Right, so events are in motion right now in the heavens.
Oh, aren't they?
Oh boy, are they?
Our archangel heroes are getting ready for battle.
I have a note here that says, Leaf, the bad at acting, wants to go to hell. Let him. Sorry, Leaf.
Yeah, so he's, kind of our gateway to some rules here.
This is there's some
he wants to go help them out because he's like a little guardian angel, and this is where we see the difference between what the angels in white are versus our warrior ones.
Angels in white are sweet and innocent.
Yeah.
Versus our archangels, who are like warriors who, have to go down and battle with the demons.
Yes. And so he warns them that it could be, like, if he goes down there, it'll be too much for him. And then he also says the same warning to Xena. And she's like, well, I've dealt with evil before. And he goes, but now you're an angel, purified and full of compassion. The suffering you'll see in hell will break your heart. and she'll be tempted to save Gabrielle, but there's only one way to do that. You would have to take on her guilt and free her from her suffering by giving her your light. And when that happens, they'll switch places.
This is rough.
Yeah.
We're going to see this in action, and it's like this transaction is like horrifying that you can do like something that seems like the epitome of goodness, you know, giving up your spot in heaven for someone else, and then you're punished for it by being in hell yourself. Yeah. Right. So yeah, definitely the rules of heaven and hell at this point are vastly unfair, even
super hardcore.
Yeah, they're very hardcore. Yeah. I mean, it is a kind of justice. They're going to use that word to describe it later. But yeah, it's quite an unforgiving justice.
But, I mean, he's like, you don't need to go that far because if she's not full demon, we'll totally just scoop her up and it'll be fine.
Take her away.
Yeah.
This makes no
Easy
sense.
peasy. Scoop her up.
So then you cut to Gabrielle in hell, and she's like super hungry and thirsty.
Yeah, I like how she's all sweaty because it's
she's
obviously
starting to look gross.
Getting hot in here.
Ooh, take off all your clothes.
But she's resisting, and I think it's really important that Gabrielle resists this demonic transformation to the end.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is so who she is.
Callisto is like, fuck it, and orders some demon bros to hold her down, and they force feed her some like bananas, or they smosh some food on her face.
It's so gross. Everything about this is disgusting. Not just like seeing that visual, but just like the way the camera is like really close to them, like too close to both Callisto and to Gabrielle being force fed.
Yeah, Callisto's like watching it with this like glint in her eyes.
Yeah, and she's doing the finger thing again.
yeah. And then they pour wine down her throat because she kept spitting the food out, and that really kind of gets her going. And Gabrielle attacks that fruit, kind of like how I attack a Magnolia Bakery cake on Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Oh, this was hard to watch. I honestly found it hard to watch.
She demonifies, and she's immediately salty.
I love it.
I feel like this is great because you see Callisto putting her through this, like, agonizing process.
The physicality of that was really rough. That, is like Renee getting, like, her face, like, food smoshed all over it and stuff. It's gross.
And then throwing herself around on the floor in this really pained way. Like, it honestly all put my teeth on edge. I was very uncomfortable having to watch that. And then I love that she immediately gets her own back. She's a demon, but she's like, screw you, Callisto.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't think Callisto expected that. I think she was like, oh, cool, we're going to be like demon buds.
This is no. Isn't this always how it works with Callisto? She goes into a situation being like, this is going to be great for me. This is going to be so much fun. I'm gonna love this, and then it happens, and she's like, "Oh."
Yeah, I feel like earlier did she say something like, "Oh, they'll figure out how to take my joy away," or something?
Right? About her lord, I think. Yeah. So even here in hell, Callisto never really gets to have as much fun as she wants. So yeah, what does Pazuzu Gabs have to say to Callisto?
Oh, I love Demon Gabs.
Well, Renee,
I like when she's a demon again later, and I've already said that I wanted her to be on Ash as like a Deadite because she's so good at it. It's so cute.
She just throws herself into evil acting with such relish.
And I love. Everybody has their own levels of makeup, and she has, like, arguably the least amount, but it's, like, in an adorable way. Like,
she's not full demon yet.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's like, you get context and tiny horns. Baby
horns. Sweet little horns. So she says to Callisto, this was the one part of it I did not like, which was the processed voice. Ooh, I did not think they needed to do that to Renee. Let Renee do the demon acting. She can do it.
Maybe her demon voice sounded like her attempts at accents.
Oh no!
They have to auto-tune her.
Well, I just found it so distracting that she suddenly had the deep voice, the exorcist voice coming out of her. She says, "When Xena burned your family, did you see them on fire? Did you smell their flesh sizzling? You wanted them to die so you'd have a reason to be a bitch."
That was incredible.
I thought that was a dumb line.
I loved it.
I thought it was so silly. I was like, that's the best Demon Gabs has.
No, it's so great, man. And Callisto just did not expect that at all. and proceeds to choke Gabrielle like how Homer chokes Bart.
Oh my god.
It was legit that.
That was, why you little?
Yes, literally. It was so good. And they're doing this and only stop because they're interrupted by the angels coming down.
I just feel like it's so grade school that the best Gabs could do is like call Callisto the B word. Like that's how she like gets her riled.
I like the
stuff about
thing
her
is
family
that she
is
wanted
good.
them to die.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
But
if you don't
I
focus
feel
on
like so you'd have a reason to be a bitch is like she could have gone so much worse. Like it could be like they died because of you, you know.
But we already like kind of dealt with that. It was just this was such an undercut of, you know, the reality here because like Callisto's a bitch.
She is a bitch.
There you go. Maybe she wanted a reason to be one.
And of course we see very soon we will see what Callisto would have become if her family hadn't died. It's not like, you know, we see that she is a product of that trauma in part. Like, you know, she was not a bitch before that happened. Quite the opposite. She is an angel.
Aww. All right, well, let's get there then.
Let's get there.
So the angels come down. There's a big fight between archangels and demons. Xena starts fighting Callisto. She orders Michael to get Gabrielle out of there. They grab Gabrielle. And then Xena, while fighting Callisto, cuts off her wing.
Yeah, that was rough. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, that didn't look like it hurt.
Also, the subtitles, for no reason, just said whoops.
Whoops.
Like during this fight.
That's the sound of cutting off a wing.
No, I
Whoops.
think it was just like during the fight between like random angels and demons. But yeah.
Callisto's little wheezes that she makes after her wing is cut off are really sad. They are
everything about this.
Yeah, pathetic little noises.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, Xena's one-upping her here, and all she has is just uncontrollable, just like rage and, you know, in this way that just comes out with,
and
like,
it's so helpless.
Yeah, it's like a helpless
just,
rage.
Yeah, she just has nothing else. Like
it's a tantrum.
Yeah.
Like it's like the end of a tantrum.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll never stop hating you, Xena. Do you hear me? Never. She's gonna spend eternity seeking revenge. And then Xena just says no.
This is
with
the
a little
scene.
smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really feel like just everything stops in this moment. This really hit Xena, and she has this smile. Like, she suddenly sees this for what it is, which is that she's sympathetic.
Yeah.
Like this sad little creature who's just, you know, shouting all this stuff about getting revenge, but it's so impotent. Like, you know, she's not scary. She's just really upsetting. So Xena pities her in this moment. It reminded me a little bit of Lord of the Rings, like Frodo and Sam pitying Gollum, you know? You're just like, no, you're not a monster. You're like a ruined creature.
Yeah.
And that ruin is just so sad.
I mean, that's what it is, basically. Callisto, like, her look, like the demon look, it's kind of like a visualization of her internal self, right? So she's a creature. Yeah, a creature that is a bunch of rage. And Xena, who previously was quite angry at Callisto, was moved so much now that she does the ultimate sacrifice. Not for Gabrielle, but for Callisto.
So, like, I love how the episode set this up. They said, you know, this is the way that you can save someone in hell. You assume it's going to be Gabrielle, because you're literally cutting between Gabrielle becoming a demon and Michael explaining this to Xena. But then, lo and behold, this is a great twist.
Great twist. And absolutely beautiful. The way that it's shot is spectacular, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this to me looked like a painting again.
Yeah, oh God, yes.
Yeah, this looked just like, a piece of religious art.
Yeah, you go, like, I want to go to the Met and find it.
And find it. Let's
like
put it, let's break into the Met and just, like, print it out.
Give them
be like, here's a still from Fallen Angel. We call it, what do we call it?
Good Touch.
The Good Touch.
Can we? Okay, let's unpack this because there's so many layers to this moment. Number one, this is another Xena and Callisto sex scene because
interesting read.
The previous one we had was at the end of Sacrifice, where Xena also gives something to Callisto, where she is supposed to give her oblivion, and she stabs her with the knife.
Penetrates her.
Penetrates her, yes. To me, that moment was a moment of compassion from Xena.
Absolutely. And you saw that on their faces.
What do you make of the overlay that her being an angel, explicitly said by Michael, makes her even more compassionate?
I didn't remember that, and I'm so upset that that was a line. Because
Me too.
I remembered this. I mean, I didn't remember that he said that. So to me, this moment was like one of the greatest moments in the whole show. Like, this is Xena doing the purest thing.
You feel like this is so Xena. Yeah.
And it's just like so unexpected and so beautiful. And I was like really bummed out when I rewatched it. And Michael's like, "Oh, you're going to do this because you're an angel." I wanted it to be from Xena.
You're hitting on, I think, an issue that I have with this episode in general, is that it has this way of almost like hijacking the characters' senses of self. Like when they're in heaven, they're extra compassionate angels, and you're not sure, what, is that their personality, like, purified, or have they actually become something else? Are they not Xena and Gabrielle anymore? And same when they become demons. Like, I look at the demon version of Gabs and I'm like, I kind of see Gabrielle in there, because she always hated Callisto and always wanted to say shit like this to Callisto.
She's hangry all the time.
She's so hangry.
As an angel.
Callisto also woke her up earlier, so I'm just not happy about that either. But we're soon going to see Xena as a demon too, and I'm not sure, how much of that is a reflection of who Xena herself is, and how much of it is just like, you're a demon now, so do demon stuff.
Well, that's actually something that R.J. Stewart addressed, where he said that it's such a drastic change for Gabrielle to be the demon because she's so good. But for Xena, she always has a little demon in her.
And yet for me, Gabrielle as a demon was more recognizable as the dark side of who Gabs is, because I think Callisto always brought out the worst in Gabrielle. Whereas Xena as a demon, and we'll get there, I know we're not quite there in the episode, like, I just don't recognize that as, like, dark Xena. Like,
well, I think you've seen that before. Yeah. That's something that, RJ said, which is that whenever she's, like, possessed by the Furies or something, like, it's kind of similar, and that's because has this darkness, like, in her already. I don't want to say that Demon Xena is my fave.
No,
it's extreme. Yeah, and it's personifying something that is meant to be
that's my issue.
More of a metaphor, which, like, the next episode we'll get into in Chakram.
Right.
Like,
kind of extends that metaphor about being a good person versus being a bad person.
But her as an angel, like, she's still Xena.
She's definitely still Xena as an angel.
And Gabrielle too.
You see them standing up, for what they believe. Yeah. It's not like they're kind of will has been hijacked by something.
Yeah. I also do like when Xena is like a demon, that one of her things is to question, like, who said we were evil.
Yes, I like that too.
That's very Xena.
Like, what's happening here?
Yeah,
like,
pushing up against this authority that says you belong here and you belong here. Like, that to me is very Xena.
But anyway, this scene, so good. Shoot, where did we even leave off?
The good touch.
Yeah, the good touch. I love the way you just have that medium. There are actually very few medium shots in this episode. It's either super close shots so that they're doing
very
less,
wide,
doing less special effects, or very wide so you can't tell that everything is CGI
and they're not our actors.
Yeah. So this medium shot. I mean, in part you can't get away with a medium shot because Lucy's pregnant, and you got to be very careful with the framing. But I thought this just was such a gorgeous image. The way Callisto is thrown back on the rock.
Yeah.
And Xena's sort of holding her sword blade downward, and it's not threatening, though. You feel like it's a moment of surrender for both of them.
It's wonderful. I mean, I can't put into words just how gorgeous this composition is. I mean, we already talked about how it looks literally out of, like, a Renaissance painting. The camera moves back as, the event is happening.
The good touch.
The good touch. Yeah, Xena is, like, climaxing her light out into Callisto. And, it fades to white. There's a sudden, like, wind. The wind machine goes off in her face. And it's beautiful and slow. And just The music is magical. It's just like one of the greatest moments of the show, I think. I
agree.
It's unexpected and stunning. That's what it is.
I love how unexpected it is. It really gets you, in part because this episode is so busy and loud and crazy, and then suddenly like all of that falls away.
Yeah, it's like a calming moment in the middle of this battle too. That's another thing that's happening.
Yeah, and it's just such a human moment in an episode about angels and demons. Like, you feel this is about these two women, and it feels real. And there's going to be one more such moment later in the episode.
Cries. Yeah,
Xena cries.
It's so good. Yeah, I just absolutely love it.
And that's I love the idea that this is kind of the companion image to the end of Sacrifice, too. Yeah, that's really great.
So after that, you do this, like, hard cut to Gabrielle being thrown into the Red Bull bath.
Yeah, that was funny. Because it looked so just like shocking. And she like, it's like when you take a cold shower, viewers. Yeah. You've had so much of the good touch. Now you need
Yeah, so she kind of like flops around in there, and then she emerges undemoned. Yay.
Pretty again.
I wrote pretty again. Exactly.
I wrote she's steaming and pink-cheeked.
Aww. And her first thought is basically, where's Xena?
I love that, which was exactly Xena's first thought when she was first rescued by the angels. And Michael explains that Xena gave herself up to save one of the damned, and Gabs, in confusion, says, well, who did she save?
And he's like, we can't tell you until you're dry and rested.
She makes a face that seems like she kind of got it, but like I don't think that she did because it seems like a surprise. When
I think it's a surprise. But she seems to understand that it wasn't her, which I think immediately confuses her.
Yeah,
it's so true.
She's like, wait, what? Not me?
Okay, so Demon Xena gets to work real fast.
Yeah, right, real fast.
Like real fast. Immediately she's in charge.
This is a fun shot, the reveal of her, how the camera kind of climbs up among the demons, and then at the top you have Xena crouched on this rock, kind of rallying them.
Yeah.
And we get to see her full makeup, which is very demon-y, red, horned, yellow eyes.
Oh, yeah.
The works. She's got the crazy hair, your favorite, Vera.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel. Like, I guess like with a demon face,
it's okay.
It doesn't really bother me.
That's the one time when you can do it.
With an actual Xena face, I have a problem with it.
How does this compare to the monster from Paradise Found?
Well, you can still see most of her face.
I will take this demon face over bunny person any day.
I think the performance is very similar.
Yeah, but I think actually this maybe it's because like I'm trying to imagine the performance from Paradise Found without that face. I probably would buy it, but at the same time, I buy the demon one more.
It's so funny. I'm the opposite of you. I do not buy this demon.
Feelings about Paradise Found. You're okay with that crazy face.
Well, I think for me, Paradise Found as a whole had a very light touch as an episode, so I didn't mind the almost comic performance as the monster. Whereas this episode to me was pretty serious throughout, and to suddenly have comedy demon Xena, I thought was a huge letdown. I thought this was a big mistake actually by Lucy, and I wish she hadn't done it.
I don't know. Rewind to Paradise Found. Like that was a mistake by Rob and Lucy.
I mean,
and like literally the worst. And also now that I'm thinking about it, that was a she's not supposed to have any like Xena in that one. Like she's like a shell. She's like an evil, completely
she gave
evil
up her
being.
Goodness to do that.
So that's another reason why I don't like it. It's just here it is still Xena, but she's like a demon and it's like amplified, as Katie said.
I just found it so confusing because her first line as a demon, she says, "These hit and miss conflicts have done me no good." What? It sounds like she's actually speaking as Satan. Like, she hasn't been in, like, a million hit and miss conflicts. She literally just went through, like, one battle just now.
Sure, but she's already, like, taken on the struggle of the demons.
I mean, it sounds like she's literally speaking as the mouthpiece for Satan. So that, to me, was like, this isn't Xena. And then I got confused later when it seemed like it might be still.
I just think she's just like in charge and ready to go. You know, she's the only demon who got her shit together. You know, in order to.
I mean, of course,
lead an army.
Of course, Xena has so much battle experience.
It's on her CV.
Like her dark side would immediately lead the forces of hell. This makes sense to me. But yeah, I really wish she'd actually, for once, given herself permission to just be a scary monster here rather than this funny monster. I did not think
I don't know how
funny
you could do scary monster when you already had Callisto be funny.
And it's true
Gabs
that she's
in
a giant red demon face, which isn't exactly like striking fear into our hearts. It is funny.
I think the whole point of like this episode is that because you have ridiculous imagery like this, like once they show you what's going on Earth, that's where you come back and, you know, refocus.
Really feel it.
Yeah. Find those emotions that are legitimate there, you know?
I guess. I wanted something a little more legitimate here. I
don't
didn't like
even pay
that it
attention
descended to cartoon quite so completely. I mean, you're right that it was kind of flirting with that line before with the angels. Like they're pretty ridiculous. But this to me, I thought was just tonally one step too far.
Well, she's trying to rally the troops, and she's like, "Paradise will be ours."
This speech is, I think, basically a paraphrase from Milton from Paradise Lost, which I almost just called Paradise Found. But yeah, this is very like how Satan tends to talk there. And it's a sympathetic speech.
Yeah.
To me, it's sort of sounded like, you know, like rallying the
union?
Yeah, this is a union speech. Us demons being exploited by capitalism. We gotta go on strike. I was like, you go, demons, I'm with you. You show those angels.
Okay, so the angels, right? So Gabrielle is now dry, okay, and rested. Okay, so who's that one that was saved?
Oh, boy.
Let's see her. Take me to her.
And there
Michael's
she is.
holding her hand, which I thought was a weird detail.
Sure, he's a weird dude.
Do you think Renee was like, we should have some sexual tension, Michael?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, he was kind of concerned for her, I guess.
I mean, he definitely, I think, has more personal feelings towards her than for Xena. Like, I feel like when he says, you're a beautiful soul later, you believe it.
Well, because she's legit supposed to be there. No, she's not. She's also supposed to be reborn.
Right. I don't know. But it's true that you feel like she's earned her place in heaven in a way that, like, is undeniable. Whereas, obviously, for Xena, there's much more personal ambivalence from her about that.
Well, the soul that is new there, it's Callisto. She has a new look.
Gabrielle is pissed.
Yeah, Gabrielle's like, this bitch? No.
What do we think of Callisto's makeover?
She got her long hair back.
She got long hair.
Got a
her
nice
eyes
dress.
are crazy.
Yeah, I literally didn't recognize her for a second. I was like, who is that?
I know, yeah.
She looks like a little doll, and like in a slightly creepy way.
She's a creepy doll,
one of those creepy dolls.
Yep. The one that's going to be possessed in like The Conjuring, yeah.
But I think because they've changed her makeup, that's why her eyes are popping so intensely.
Right, it's like normal. I mean, she spent half this episode as a demon, don't forget.
Yeah, that's true. We're not used to just seeing her face.
Yeah, but she's also like wearing, you know, like the angelic dress that looks different because it's not like the...
It has a lot of gold in it.
It's one of the angel outfits, like for the little floaty ones.
I guess so. She became a guardian angel.
Well, not yet, but like will.
But that you feel like that's clearly her path.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a really interesting reunion here between Gabrielle and Callisto.
Callisto can't remember anything that she did that was bad.
Right. I just love her first kind of like seeing Gabrielle. She's like, I know you.
Yeah.
Like, but it's just fuzzy. Everything's like weird for her.
Right.
What did you guys think of this? I was very thrown by this when I first saw it because I'm obviously so attached to Callisto as a character that to have her basically have her personality overwritten, I was upset. Even though I got that this was probably the best thing for her.
Yeah.
Like the best thing that could happen.
It was a very clear like scenario that happened where like it wasn't that she became redeemed as the person that she was. She literally got like changed to be the person that she
could have been.
It's sliding doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like, sliding doors, even with the hair difference.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess it's just, I feel a certain wistfulness and a pain at just seeing the character I love kind of turned into this unrecognizable person who's just sort of sweet and pure and kind of untouchable.
I mean, you allow it. Like, it's the end of her journey, and... Yeah. I allowed it because it was just so fascinating where, Gabrielle's like, you're a big murderer. And she's like, no, I would never.
I know.
Me?
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, I remember back in A Necessary Evil, Gabrielle forgave her, certainly for Perd. Forgave her for that because she had to move on. So it's interesting.
Here.
Yeah, it's back. Funny. She did not move on as much,
maybe
much as she wanted to.
She spent some time with her in hell, and she's back to hating her.
That's true. That kind of sucked. That
Don't
shit
you think
in hell.
that's all coming up from a place of an unfairness, and she's very, very angry that Xena is in hell and this person is not. That like stuff that she might have been trying to process and get over, like, is now just being yelled at because she's like, this is fucking stupid because you did all this stuff and like I don't like this, and like her understanding of it is just gonna come out in this angry way and she's not thinking it through.
That totally makes sense. Yeah, I think you're right. All her shouting about Perdiccas, it's not about Perdiccas at all. It's about Xena. It's about this trade that is so deeply unfair.
Yeah, I just want one more thing about like the
or that
performance.
She thinks is unfair. Is it unfair?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, obviously, it's bad in that Xena in hell is gonna destroy heaven. So this clearly is not the.
It's not a good. Michael a good judgment. Is fucking scared. Michael, the archangel who like fights Lucifer and wins, is like, oh, Xena's a demon now. I don't know.
I'm out of here.
But Liv, you just reminded me of how I feel like Gabrielle's reaction to this is very similar to her reaction in Crab Woman episode, where Xena's like, you know what, I'm gonna go to jail today for murder, and she's like, what the fuck, Xena? And so here she's like, I'm gonna save Callisto and be in hell forever for Callisto. And she's like, what the fuck, Xena? Like, why?
This is, I mean, we were talking about the end of season 4 and saying how finally these two characters have decided to commit to each other, to like spend their lives together and spend eternity together. So of course, like, it must be shocking for Gabrielle that Xena has actually chosen to split them up in saving Callisto. She might not have thought it through to that extent, but in choosing to give her light to Callisto, she is agreeing to spend eternity in hell while Gabs spends eternity in heaven.
Well, that's another, like the whole self-punishing act that Xena does.
I like
it's her cross to bear.
The moment that is, the moment of the episode for us all, the good touch. Like, I hope that, like, when you watch it, it's like a combination of stuff. They're going to get into a little bit later. Gabrielle will say stuff, but like, I feel like when you're looking at it, you need to think of it not as like a self-punishing moment, but like as a moment of compassion. Like, just like, and I think if you just read it as like, oh, time for me to punish myself. It's like,
no, I don't think you should.
It's making it all about Xena. Like, how can I feel better about being such a bad person? Whereas it's not about that at all. It's about helping someone else.
I think without remembering that it's like her feelings are like exacerbated because she's an angel now, I think that her arc with Callisto has gone from like, all right, she felt bad for her, then she started to hate her, then that hatred turned to compassion, and then that compassion turned to hatred again.
Well, almost like I feel like her final thing was like, I'm not responsible for you. I don't, she claimed to no longer feel guilt about.
Right. So like ambivalence, and then that seeing it here kind of like switched to mercy. It's just so fascinating.
Gabrielle goes, this is insane. You call this justice in this scene. And Michael says, Xena called it justice.
And I think Xena would call it justice because, Callisto was this personification of Xena's guilt. Like, she stood for every bad thing that Xena had ever done. And here, finally, by doing this act of compassion, that past has been rewritten. You know? Like, those sins have disappeared. And I think that's really moving picture of what redemption could be.
It is fascinating how you said, Liv, that you don't recognize Callisto. So, like, lines like when she's like, Gabrielle's like, you're a big murderer, and she's like, no, I would never do something like that, and then goes, would I? And then turns to, like, Tessa Thompson and is like, would I? And that reminded me of what you said in, was it Ides? Where you were like, she's just forever caught in this, like, limbo. And it seems here, like, the Callisto personality is just confused again. Yeah. You know?
She's always kind of looking around for someone to kind of tell her, like, what to do and how to feel.
So I loved that performance of those lines, and just even including lines like that, because in a weird way, like, she's an angel, but I felt bad for her.
Yeah, I felt like at some point she was going to remember, and then it's going to
be sad.
Rough. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's what we're supposed to see. I think, I mean, that's part of my confusion about this, is like, what is, who is this person? Yeah. Like, what are her experiences going to be? Yeah, I do find there's something, like, uncanny about it. Not, like, we talked about how her eyes are crazy. and like, moments like, would I unnerved me, because it almost sounded a bit like Callisto, but also sounded not like Callisto. And I was just like, who is this? Ugh. Yeah. I think I'm sort of in Gabrielle's camp, where I'm almost, like, angry at it, because it makes me feel weird.
It makes you feel weird, yeah, that's for sure. All right, so Joxer is looking at dead Gabrielle. So we have her close-up dead, laying there. And then Amaris is like, well, we should just bury them here, wherever they are.
I love Joxer's line, how he's like, it's like at any minute she's going to wake up and complain about how no one lets her sleep in. Right. Because, that's one of our favorite aspects of Gabs, is how much she likes her rest. So it's nice to have a little moment of levity. A really sad, wistful moment.
It's a wistful moment, yeah. So, and then he agrees, he has to admit that they will not make it to Greece because there's too many Romans around and they're going to get killed. So he agrees that they should bury them there, wherever they are.
So this is, where are they? They're in Italy somewhere. Yeah. Okay, by Mount Amaro.
They sort of are like, where's Eli? Who cares?
He's not coming back.
But we as viewers know that Eli is going to need to come back to fix this situation. So then we have this bookended scene now where Gabs says, I have to save Xena to Michael, just as earlier in the episode Xena said, I have to save Gabs to Michael.
She wants to get her wings too.
Michael, though, explains that that Xena can't be saved.
Yeah, the only way to stop her is to cut her up into a million little pieces.
And Gabs is like, well, okay. This is a strange moment.
If anyone's going to do it, I will do it.
I mean, when I first saw I watched this moment quite a few times to try to figure out what is going through Gabs' head. I think she's just saying that to appease Michael. Presumably that is not what she actually wants to do. But it is strange because we never... In the course of this sequence, we never see Gabs trying to do anything other than fight Xena and stop Xena. Yeah. You don't feel that she ever really tries to, like, appeal.
Cut her up into a million
Well, she was trying. She had a sword. But she doesn't try that hard to, like, appeal to her humanity.
No, you think you're going to get, like, what was I thinking of? Like, Evil Willow and Xander.
Right.
Where you're,
the yellow crayon.
Yeah, you just, like, recognize yourself and I love you, blah. And you think that that's going to be the end of it. But nah, there's like this.
She going to cut her up into little pieces for all eternity. I mean, this is a strange moment. And I think this is when the episode goes from being kind of beautiful to being sort of nightmarish.
Yeah.
You feel like, this is an eternal conflict in which Xena and Gabrielle are on opposite sides, and maybe we'll always be on opposite sides, and that sucks.
I think the end of, let's get to the end of it so we can talk about it, because that's my favorite
By the way, I didn't believe it. Like, even, I was like, no, Gabrielle will find a way to save Xena.
Yeah. Like, and, she needs, if she says anything but, yes, okay, you're right, Michael, she won't get those wigs. Yeah. So she's gotta agree.
Right.
And I mean, you certainly don't see her, like, in the way Renee plays this. It's not like she's gung-ho about the cutting up into little pieces plan. She's just like, okay, I have to agree to this. And she does it with enough sincerity that he believes her, but I guess I don't believe her because how could you?
I know.
So now she's got to go do the ritual.
Yeah, she goes to the DMV, and in the cave, you're expecting that fire and water scenario, and no.
Instead, it's just a chat.
It's a chat with Callisto. Yeah.
I love how she's like, am I supposed to fight you?
They're both confused. Like, oh.
I love that Gabrielle says, your sweetness act is disgusting. I love that she calls it an act, that she just cannot believe in this as a real thing. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting. Because, me as a viewer was kind of having the same struggle.
I like that, from the last scene to this scene, Callisto is like, I must have been evil. Like, instead of
she's processing
it. Like, yeah.
And also that she's so confused as to why Xena would save her if she was such a bad person. But Gabrielle gets it immediately, or at least thinks she does. What do you guys think about her line that it was a guilty conscience? I think that's a reduction.
Yeah, I think it's a reduction too, and I think it's... I think it's really big topic. Yeah. But I think that it's really easy to read it that way, and I think that it's not part of it. Yeah, for sure. And I think that you could read it as that if you wanted to, that she feels guilty, so she's gonna fix it. But I think it is reductive. Yeah.
And I think that's it makes sense to me that Gabrielle would think that, because the alternative is to think that Xena has some kind of real feeling for Callisto. Beyond that.
But this is Christian heaven and hell, and isn't the ultimate beautiful thing is to help someone you absolutely hate.
Yeah.
So it just made sense to me. All of it was there. There's so many layers in that scene.
Yeah. Love thine enemy.
Yeah. So there's some interesting moments in this conversation too. Where Gabrielle is like, you're evil to the core, you always will be, and
she shakes her.
Yeah.
She it's like, I know you're in there. She's trying to
wake her up. Yeah.
All the things that we were saying we wanted Gabrielle to say to Demon Xena, she says to Angel Callisto, be evil! I know you're in there!
Yeah. And then Callisto puts her hands on Gabrielle's shoulders, and Gabrielle's like, don't touch me. That was so interesting.
She's, like I said, there's something uncanny about it.
Yeah.
You're like, ew. You're weirded out by innocent little girl-ish Callisto.
Creepy doll.
She got especially creepy doll when she started talking about her family and how much she loves them. And you're like, that's nice.
Well, Callisto just puts her hands on her shoulders and says, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, she can see how much Gabrielle is hurting. And I think that's really wonderful that's when Gabrielle realizes, I've forgiven this person. Because she sees that Gabrielle's anger is just hurt. She's just hurt.
Yeah.
She's maybe hurt that Xena has done this. And she apologizes. Yeah.
So she says, I'm sorry too.
And they wipe each other's tears and touch each other's faces.
Yeah.
The moment, the tear that Renee sheds, that's such a great moment of acting, because it's Hudson wipes it once, but it continues down her nose, and then she catches it again. That is just an extra little bit of awesome.
Good moment.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm happy. I'm happy these two found. I like that it's played in such a way that you feel like it's almost in spite of herself that Gabrielle forgives her. She doesn't want to, but she just does. That's who Gabrielle is.
Of course, yeah. And then my note here says, I ship it, ?
I've always shipped it. I was always into it.
So Gabrielle emerges from the Red Bull bath because...
she passed the test.
Forgiveness gives her...
Wings.
Well, it purifies her. Yeah. So. And then Michael calls her a beautiful spirit.
Yeah. He's got a crush on her. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess we're going to go with that. Yeah, we're going to go with that.
He does, I think so.
Okay,
and her beautiful pure soul.
Here comes Xena and the Demons, another really good band name. And we have a Archangel Gabrielle hero shot.
Yeah, I love that she's the only one
out to
meet them.
Yeah.
On this rock outcropping, just standing there with her sword. Mm-hmm. It's always her sandals. Nice sandals. Yeah, this whole outfit, I think, is just so cool, so amazing.
Well, I don't know how I feel about, the circle boobs.
Oh, I kind of like the circle boobs.
There's just no need.
Never any need.
But, this is the new costume designer, and I think this is kind of
she's into circle boobs.
Her interest goes into circle boobs.
She likes boobs.
circular
boob
ones. Yeah. So she's a breast, gal. All right. So, yeah, this is a really great hero shot.
And I mean, yeah, isn't this pure Gabrielle that she's this lone resistor against the forces of hell? I love it. I got shivers from seeing that.
Xena goes straight for Gabrielle.
Yep.
She does like a twitch situation with her face when she like lands.
Well, I feel like, this is the part where you feel like a little bit of Xena's true self is surfacing. Because she sees Gabs and
she starts talking normal.
Yeah. Basically. She says, like, we shouldn't be fighting.
Right. Yeah.
And this is sort of what Gabrielle was saying to Michael earlier, is that she's, Xena, even as a demon, she's going to go to Gabs.
Yeah.
Like, Gabs is her first priority.
Right. And, I mean, this is also, like, Gabrielle was, like, convincing Michael that, like, the only way to sort of trap Xena is, like, using Gabs. Well, Xena says some, like, pretty awesome stuff to her right here. She wants to spend eternity with her. That's cool. She also says that the love we have is stronger than heaven or hell. That's true.
That is true. That's what we believe this, especially now that we've seen both those places.
It transcends good or evil. Also true.
Mm-hmm. It's an end in itself.
Mm-hmm.
This feels a bit, we've talked about their love versus, love for all people, the greater good. This is the first articulation that maybe choosing their love is better than choosing that selfless, greater good love.
Yeah.
An end to itself.
But a demon is saying it.
A demon is saying it.
And then
what does that mean?
I think that means that this is the voice of selfishness.
Well, I mean, she cries, "You can't let me walk through hell alone."
She says the exact same lines that she had earlier said about Gabrielle, that she couldn't let Gabrielle walk through hell alone. So now she says them again, pleading to Gabs herself. And Gabs is like, nah, you can, bye. No.
Excuse me, she, soft voice says, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Patented soft voice.
This is rough. I mean, I also thought the blocking for this was upsetting because, these are beautiful, shippy lines, but if you look at the body language, Xena is very threatening. She's kind of forcing Gabrielle to the edge of the cliff. And at one point, Gabrielle kind of falls to her knees. Like, Xena's physically overpowering her as she professes her love. So it's a pretty upsetting scenario, actually.
This scene has a lot going on in it. And it's so complicated by the layer that Xena is technically meant to be a demon right now. Earlier in the scene, Gabrielle, having just had her Callisto experience, says to Xena, Callisto can be redeemed, why can't you? Which I feel like is a big line.
It's a big line, and I think everybody's like, nod, yes. Especially because Gabrielle was just rebelling against this idea. She could not bear the idea that Callisto could be redeemed. But, now that she's accepted it, Xena, of course. That feels not as dramatic a change if Xena becomes an angel again. But then Demon Xena's response is just, Callisto is a trick. They deceive you, Gabrielle. Yeah. Callisto can't change. You know that. Which, of course, is speaking to a part of Gabrielle that we know existed. Yeah. We just saw it. Yep. This is tricky. This is a difficult situation.
It's a toughie.
And I think that's why I'm so frustrated by it, is I'm like, what part of this is Xena? Those wonderful shippy lines about their love being an end to itself. I'm like, is that how Xena feels, or is that actually the worst part of Xena feels that? Is that the selfish part of Xena that feels that?
That's such a good point.
That's I don't care about good or evil, I just care about you, Gabs.
Yes.
So I don't know, there's there's a lot going on in this, and it's hard for me as the viewer to know what's
But the selfish
sincere.
part of Xena, but that's the thing, that you can't divorce the two.
No, that's true. The selfish Xena is Xena.
Yeah.
And the selfless instinct that pities Callisto, that's also Xena. These are all parts of Xena.
Yeah. And I hate that we questioned whether it was angelic Xena.
I mean, I don't.
Real
I know
Xena.
that's a part of Xena, and I know this is a part of Xena, and I think that's the only way to look at this to make it make sense. But it does suck that the episode kind of throws things at you where you're like, I'm not sure if this is actually the character.
And you have to just kind of think of it in all these concepts taken to the extreme.
Right.
Yeah. Because this scenario ends with Xena. We're not. They plummet to hell together. That's how this ends. You don't get Crayon Breaky Willow moment.
Xena drags her to hell.
Yeah. So,
which it feels like, I mean, that's what Xena's always been afraid of, that her influence would corrupt Gabrielle, would buy Gabrielle like a bad fate. And yeah, to see that happen here is obviously very heartbreaking.
So the angels attack, and the demons attack, and everyone fights.
And I love that Callisto's just kind of there on the sidelines, like watching, being like, oh.
Yeah, and Xena cuts baby Raphael's wing a little bit.
No.
I was so upset.
I felt it, actually, that shot of the slash wing. I was like, yikes, those things look... Ooh.
I like this whole, so this is a crazy climax fight, a lot going on, very busy, lots of demons, lots of stuff, lots of angels, Hieronymus Bosch, like, if, like, he had control of special effects, but, like, he's, like, a old painter and, like, doesn't fucking know how to do special effects,
and
so it's, like, looks
control,
just fucking insane. But
I did
also
wish
love
the fighting was more, like, everybody's on the ground all the time.
Because it's hard. Like, can you imagine?
Those wings are really hard to deal with.
Can I just say, they're so hard to deal with that they give Michael, like, little cape wings?
Yeah.
That just flop around, and like we're not supposed to notice.
He has to move around, so I mean, everybody is. I mean, this is I'm very impressed that they managed to make this episode work, because there's so much just about the design here that could have just made this feel like so stiff and uninteresting to watch as a fight scene.
Well, what I was going on about was that, like, while it's so busy and crazy and, like, you're cutting back and forth to these different plots, very minimal dialogue. Like, it's just...
Lots of fights.
It's just watching this crazy stuff happen. Yeah. For, like... I mean, not that there is dialogue, but, like, it's minimal. I can smell you. And it's, like, 10 minutes.
That's a line of dialogue.
Gabrielle! That's a line of dialogue.
Okay, it's fine. Anyway, so we're fighting.
Yep. So Gabrielle kind of, like, flies straight up to draw Xena away, and Xena takes a bait.
I can smell you.
They go into, like, the more heavens
area. Heavenly heavens.
Yeah. And they have their own kind of, like, fight going on there.
I like that Xena says there's fun to be had down there as a way of trying to tempt Gabs with the sexy times.
Is that what it is?
That's how I took it.
That is not how I took it at all. But anyway, can we just get to my favorite little bit Katie, here? Where, so, like, Eli...
It's very depressed.
He left. He's upset. He thinks that he got them killed. He's realizing that stuff that, he has been teaching has, like, maybe not been the best thing for these people, and, like, that it wasn't Gabrielle's way. And my favorite line, where he's sitting there and he's looking up, he's talking to his dad, and he's like, my friends are dead because of my teachings. It makes me laugh every time. I think he's so good. I think to me, like, he's good. I like Eli, but, like, that makes
great speech.
Something about that just makes me giggle every time. My teachings. So yeah, the way of love, it wasn't for Gabrielle, and he was too proud to see that. Yeah. What good is this gift if I can't at least protect the ones I love? Why did you even give this to me? What am I supposed to do?
You show me. His voice gets really raw here, which I thought was great. Yeah. This was a moment where I really thought Timothy hits this out of the park.
Yeah, it was
like, it starts silly, but by the end, it's like really for real. And I feel like this is a rawness that we haven't seen from Eli. Like, this was a moment when Eli stopped being that kind of godly figure a bit for me and became human again. And I really liked seeing that side of him.
It's so funny because I feel like for me, he's only godly when he does the stuff.
Well, he has in part because he's so inactive. He tends to just kind of, stay on the sidelines with his hands up his sleeves, just sort of like hanging out. So to finally just see like real emotion from him and helplessness, I like that.
I thought he was very human, like when he was pulling the stakes out of Xena's arms.
That was intense.
On the cross.
Yeah.
May I suggest that he's both these things at once?
Wow.
Cool. So Callisto starts glowing, and she appears to Eli as an angel.
And this is like the angel appearing to Jesus the night before he's crucified. So
interesting.
Biblical stuff there.
But the timeline is very weird here.
Yeah, it's different, but I think that's kind of the place they're working from.
And she says, love is the way, go to them. And Eli runs to Xena and Gabrielle's bodies.
I like that rather than the way of love, we get love is the way. I wonder if this is actually something different than what he was preaching before.
Cool.
I don't know.
I don't know, but I think that's interesting, yeah. It's kind of like a reverse. So Xena and Gabrielle's fight is climaxing.
And the music is really crazy. Again, this is like the crazy music from the promo. It's like the Carmina Burana music.
So you have this shot of this like poetic feather falling.
I love that. That was one of my favorite shots in the episode.
Yeah. I thought that was great. And then right after, so it like falls in slow motion, like very slowly. And then right after that, you see Gabrielle fall.
Yeah.
And she lands pretty hard on her butt.
It sucks because for a second I was like, oh, she really is a match for Xena. Like, these two are going to be flying up there, like, fighting each other forever. And I was like, I'm almost okay with this. It's a beautiful image. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, yeah, Xena's a better fighter than Gabs.
I mean, we didn't really talk about, like, Gabrielle's, like, using her sword left and right.
Yeah, she's slashing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, then Gabrielle falls and then Xena kind of, like, crashes the party. She smashes down with her little cloven feet.
This is the first time you really get a look at those hooves. They are awesome. This is like some Alexander McQueen hooves. They're really cool.
So, I don't know, is this the time where we kind of like give props to all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes to make it seem like Lucy is doing a lot of this shit?
This is a very good point. Yes. Polly and Zoe both shouldering the burden, the literal burden with those giant wings. Like, they are doing a great job. Like, you can read about the complexity of the way this episode had to be put together, because you not only have the stunt doubles and the stand-ins, you have the digital doubles.
Yeah.
You know, I think probably more than half this episode, you're not actually looking at Lucy.
Right. And that was something that is a challenge for Renee. She mentioned how for the first time she was like, oh, I have to do my lines and I don't get to play off of you.
That's rough.
Yeah.
It's always hard for an actor. Yeah. And, you know, they are often, you know, in these blue screen sets, like, they don't have a lot to play off of. I think that's why these moments, especially like Renee and Hudson and Lucy, those two very human exchanges, like, really have power. Those are moments when the actors can really have something to work off of.
Yeah, and a funny fact about the hooves is that they're like high-heeled shoes, but they get rid of digitally like the heel.
I get it.
It's really clever. It's really clever.
Neat.
But they have to pay for that.
Yeah, I mean, money.
Crazy
it
money.
sounds like they basically had digital effects in almost every shot of this episode.
You have to get rid of the guys flipping the wings around.
Like all
that's
over
crazy.
the place. The harnesses, like, just everything. Like,
and they got to save some of that money for when they put Xena in the soup later.
Oh, God, don't talk about the soup.
I saw someone speculate that the budget for this episode was as much as, like, 5 times the budget of a typical episode of Xena.
Louise.
Well, wow, no wonder Eric was hemorrhaging those dinar tears.
It can be easy to maybe poke fun at the special effects, but, like, that's telling a great story.
And they were cutting edge at
impressive.
The time.
Yeah.
You have to think about, like, what was on TV at the time. Like, to have an episode of TV where 85% of the episode has digital effects, this is just unheard of, I think, for TV. So here's another example of how cutting edge and trailblazing Xena was. Really pushing the boundaries in a technical sense. Yeah. Now you think about TV and, like, digital effects are everywhere. Like, everybody uses them.
Mainly digital effects.
TV's entirely computer generated.
You can't even tell what's real.
I mean, that's the truth, is that you really can't tell what's real and what's not.
Now they're integrated much more seamlessly than they were in the era of Xena. But Xena is experimenting with things that now have just become part of every TV maker's toolbox.
Did I mention that I have a note that says Xena kicks Gabs into the sun? Because I do.
Their fight was something else.
It was, for sure.
But this is the first time since Davy where we've seen Renee and Lucy fighting each other. And it's always very exciting to see our two leads locked in combat.
Oh, totally.
Renee had a really good quote about this, which was very long, so I will only do one part of it. Okay. But she said that the love between the characters was secondary to the greater good. I don't think I felt that before in any episode until then. The fight between them was greater than their own relationship.
That's intense.
Yeah.
So she's saying the opposite of what Demon Xena was saying, that their love is an end unto itself, transcends good and evil. I think that makes sense. Gabrielle in this fight has chosen good. Yeah. She needs to defeat Xena because the forces of hell can't win. She doesn't have time to kind of appeal to the human in Xena.
So Xena picks up Gabrielle and carries her.
Yeah, I love this. This is I was trying to think, it reminded me of a monster movie. Maybe it's like Creature from the Black Lagoon. Have the monster carrying the damsel.
The damsel, yeah. It was like in slow motion. It felt like you could hear the earth or whatever rocks in heaven that they were standing on, like thundering as she walked towards the edge.
Meanwhile,
like
Michael's like, no.
Oh my God, his little green wing cape flapping behind him.
I guess because he has to just run, so you can't run in the big wing.
I don't get this, because Xena is about to jump off with Gabrielle to fly to hell together, and he's like, no, and then runs and tackles them.
Well, maybe he thought he could
fly to hell together.
No, maybe he thought they could fight in the air and he could like get Gabs and fly back up.
I think he's just trying to get to them as any way he can.
Sure, all right.
But it's true that the fact that this is what, that he's like, no, don't take Gabs, no.
Your OTP?
Yeah, I think that's some fuel to the fire of the Michael Gabs OTP.
What's their name, Smush?
Mabs.
Mabs. So this scene, of course, is intercut with what Eli is up to.
Yes.
And
he's
Eli
returned.
Has
and it's
returned,
true, this is when the episode, like, it's intercutting back and forth to really build that momentum.
Yep. Yeah. This is the climax of the episode. And on Earth, Eli has sprinted to where Xena and Gabrielle are laid out.
What kind of a, building is that? It's like an abandoned... It's an abandoned temple-y looking thing?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like a ruined temple. Yeah.
And he puts his hands on Xena and Gabrielle's foreheads.
Yes.
And starts praying.
What's he gonna do? Yeah, you can hear him if you turn the volume way up and really hurt your eardrums.
What's he saying?
I can't make out all of it, but some of it is... I beseech thee, or I beseech thee in thy mercy, or something, ... I don't know, mumble, and then, deliver these lambs from your realm.
Wow.
Or return, or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, so, and then lamb imagery.
Yeah, very interesting. Remember Gabrielle's little toy, the lamb.
Remember Icus?
And Icus, who's in this episode, so we can't forget him, even though we might want to.
Behind Eli, Callisto Angel appears, and she puts her hands on top of his hands.
So you feel like she's, working through him.
Yeah.
He's, channeling the Callisto energy.
And then she sort of climaxes, and something
I love
is
the close-up of her face as the light inside her, which, Xena's light, pulses and is really powerful.
Yeah.
So, she looks beautiful, I must say.
I loved that this is Callisto Angel resurrecting them, It's not later we get sort of divine light imagery. But I thought it was really interesting that it was specifically the Callisto Angel, the one who brings them back.
Yeah, and it's a character who we have so much invested in. I love that it's her who gets to do this, even more than Eli, who, he's been around a while. We kind of care about Eli, but Callisto, see Callisto do this, it's something.
Right, and also the fact that he himself just can't do it, which is weird because we've seen him heal people.
We have, but this is one step further.
Or is it both of them?
Wait, or is it
just
I think
Callisto?
It's both. Yeah, she's working through him, but he's there too.
I think it's her, because without her, he
he's
wouldn't have been able
a medium or something, a intermediate.
What if this is the first time we're actually seeing what is happening every time he heals someone?
That an angel
which
is there
invisible
to help him.
is an angel. Is also
I don't think
touching.
Joxer could have done it, and then Callisto came and
we
did it through him.
No.
Eli is
we understand
he has
these powers work through Eli,
right? Yes. So there's,
but also Callisto is responsible for them being crucified in the first place because she broke Xena's back with the chakram. So it's interesting that she kind of corrects her own mistake.
Nice. So as this is happening, Xena and Gabrielle and Michael are falling down into hell. You're going straight to hell.
Straight to hell.
And this scene is just fantastic, I thought.
It is something, let me tell you.
Yeah, it was unexpected. Like, I was watching it, all serious, taking notes and stuff, and then this happened, and I just, like, laughed for 20 minutes.
Funny.
And rewound and watched it a gazillion times.
I mean, Olivia has earlier said that this is like a Lucy mistake to, like, go this
great.
wacky.
This was classic.
And should we be laughing as they descend
into hell?
But then also, how do you not love Michael?
Wait, no, because
how?
No,
how do you not love it?
The genius of it is that there's like a serious. Michael goes, Gabrielle. Gabrielle goes, Michael. And then you have Xena. Michael.
Taunting.
And then punches him in the face.
Yeah.
Which is the great, like, punctuation to that. Yeah. She screams,
oh no, we're going to hell.
I cringe.
Nah, this is too ridiculous to cringe at, because you just kind of have to accept this at this point.
I mean, I kind of get that, like, evil has a sense of humor. That's part of being evil, is just, like, mocking the good characters as they're in a terrible situation. But I don't know. I just get, the fact that you're cackling at, like, the emotional climax of the episode is confusing.
Listen, I just think that there's no other show that can take you to that place and then cut to their faces waking up from being dead. Yeah. They disintegrate first. They
like transporter or like etch and sketch disappear.
They etch and sketch.
From the heavenly realm. And
Michael too, which was confusing.
Yeah, that was weird.
I was like, is he gonna like wake up there as well?
Yeah. What happened there?
What happened to Michael? Michael!
Michael! We're going to hell! We're going to hell!
Okay,
it's the best line in the series.
It is, maybe.
Michael! Oh no!
I feel like every time we have, like, a slightly risque conversation, we should be like, oh, no! We're going to hell!
So they are etched and sketched, as we mentioned, and then, they are resurrected with Eli's hands still on their heads.
It seems like kind of, that painful wake up where they're, like, gasping, like,
I didn't think so. I thought that, Gabrielle was like, whatever. But Xena, to me, her resurrection moment really reminded me, or like stood out. So like her drawing in that first breath was very low-key in an interesting way. Like it reminded me a lot of Syntrade, the shot where she dies and her last breath comes out. So it was like very...
exhale.
Yeah, so that exhale really stood out as we talked about it.
Yeah.
And so I thought...
the quiet.
And I thought this inhale was very specific too.
I gotta take another look at it.
Yeah, particularly for Xena. I really loved it. I think she looks incredible.
I guess it's smart to play that moment as quiet because we're cutting from Michael.
I know, exactly.
To that. You want it.
Yeah.
And, we've talked so often about how this B-plot, this location with Eli and friends is so... like real seeming and grounded, but then suddenly having them there after being in the super heightened abstract fight where they literally turned into atoms at the end. I mean, and it's also like completely different from like, remember when Xena did the CPR on her and is there a doctor in the house?
How could I forget?
No, I don't remember.
But it wasn't... It wasn't like that here. Like, nobody, massive gasp and then, like, jumped up or anything. It was just very, very quiet. And I thought that was such a smart way to play it.
Yeah.
I also just love their choices with how they both seem sort of rattled and numb.
That's another
that's the mood of this whole final scene. It's not jubilant.
No.
It's totally just like, what just happened?
Yeah. It's almost like they're already having PTSD about it. It kind of reminded me of Buffy.
Mm. Yeah, I thought of that too. You come back from a place.
Xena did it first.
For For sure.
Just timelining it.
Yeah, absolutely. What are we at? Season 4 of Buffy now. Yeah, so definitely Xena did it first. Yeah, I feel like you have this sense, similar to Buffy, where they've gone through this thing and now they've woken up and they don't really know how to process what happened to them.
Right.
And certainly how to communicate it to anyone else.
No.
Yeah.
So they're getting their bearings, and the first thing they do is sort of slowly look at each other, which again is very fascinating because the last time they did that, they were being nailed to a cross.
Yeah, it's true. Right, in that same position, lying there. Yeah. Ooh, that's an interesting visual parallel.
Gabrielle first looks, and then Xena, it takes her a while to actually get there.
Xena seems less with it, which will make sense once you see Chakram.
Kind of a bummer, because it's so great to be, like, playing this for reals, you know?
Especially, Xena in hell/heaven place seemed further gone, so it kind of makes sense in the context of this episode that it seems like she's not quite adjusting to being back in the world.
But as soon as they look at each other, Xena reaches over and puts her hand over Gabrielle's hand, which was such a great moment.
And you felt like that touch just immediately kind of repaired all the craziness from what they'd just experienced. You know, they were sort of trying to kill each other just a few minutes ago.
That's weird that you would say, well, not weird isn't the right word, but I felt like, to me, when they, like, touch it, I obviously, like, immediately, like, sits up and stuff, but I don't know that it's, like, repaired it, per se, in the sense that I think that she's still pretty horrified.
Yeah.
that, like, that was the last thing that happened.
But I like that, you know, after being so diametrically opposed in heaven/hell, I don't know what to call this place, the afterlife, like, it's nice that they reach for each other, that it's this moment of finally they can, like, connect, you know. It makes me think of that shot at the beginning where they were reaching for their hands as they were falling and couldn't get it, so here finally it's like connect.
I guess it's like connecting, but it's odd because it immediately is like it has a don't touch me feel to me,
which is part of the theme of this episode,
and we'll see at the beginning of Chakram they're very just like apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
so
there's
true. Not, it's like connection, but then also like a not so much.
Yeah, an attraction and a repulsion. And also just an ambivalence, and we'll talk about that as we finish out the scene, that, you know, this isn't exactly them being like, we'll be together forever, hooray.
Yeah, like it's not very... Yeah,
it's not, again, it's not jubilant.
No.
Yeah.
It's more of like a question being asked than an answer.
So I love how, like, their acting is in all of this with the, like, gotta overcome that rigor mortis problem. They're so stiff.
Can we talk about, I love their
They're
dead makeup.
Oh, yeah,
I love the
great.
Like peach lips that come with dead makeup.
It's so beautiful. Like, they both
We're
look
so
incredible.
creepy.
We sound weird.
It's crazy. I think this entire, I'm getting ahead of myself, but, like, I think Xena looks just absolutely wonderful. Gabrielle looks angelic, even if she's a dead body here, resurrected. But Xena specifically looks wonderful in this, like, post-dead makeup.
It's good shit. Good shit.
Yeah, so she kind of, like, bolts up, as Katie said, trying to shake out that
shake it off, everybody.
Yeah, and Gabs follows. She also sits up.
I like Eli's reaction to them, where he's sort of smiling and like, look, I did that, but then he sort of sees that they're suffering, and there's a kind of, like, processing on his face, like he's kind of like, oh, I actually did this, holy shit.
Right.
I really feel like after it happens, none of his thoughts are about anyone other than himself being like, I did that.
Yep.
And it's weird, and I did it. And that's, like, if you just look at him the whole time, like, he's just in his own, like, world.
Which makes sense. I think that would be what he'd go through.
Yeah.
Like, I did that.
Yeah, he, like, collapses.
Yeah, he's overwhelmed by it.
All right, so speaking of touching... Let's get to it.
All right, is this the good touch part 2?
This is the bad touch.
This is the bad touch. Okay, the bad touch.
So if anyone was wondering where Michael went, I mean, he's fine.
Here now.
He's here now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And him and Callisto are, like, angel buddies.
Yeah, they're, like, hovering there, kind of like Obi-Wan and Anakin at the end of
my God.
Return of the Jedi.
Oh, no. And she kind of looks at him, and he goes, yep.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Please.
Sure.
Go for it.
She's like, great. And kind of starts like gliding towards Xena, towards the camera.
And Xena has her back to her, right? She's sort of touching her. She's coming up from behind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's coming up from behind and floats over and, well, just a little boop touch.
Little bad touch.
I like Xena's little, what was that?
Yeah.
I feel like it actually perks Xena up. She seems so, like, in her own world. And then that happens and she kind of, comes to almost.
And then Michael announces that it's time for Callisto to meet her family. And so she goes to hang with them in the white light.
This was a nice piece of continuity because it's the same actors from Armageddon and in Callisto's mom's case from Intimate Stranger. So nice bit of continuity. I'm glad they kept that consistent for Callisto. Though at this moment, I just find so weird. It's totally very strange to see this happy ending for Callisto. I guess I remain myself kind of ambivalent about seeing this for her, even though I totally agree that intellectually this feels like a good ending for the character. There's a part of me that's just like, but that's not her. Like, what does this mean? Like, what am I watching?
Cheesy.
It's also just cheesy. Yeah.
I liked it.
But I like it. Yeah. I'll say it. It is cheesy. I like it as well because I feel like I can't not. It's just you feel good for her. Like
I've been rooting for her,
happy for her
to be
so
in the
justice
moment.
For Callisto's sister. Just
she's
written out of the universe.
Yeah.
Is she not in heaven? What the fuck happened to that girl?
I don't know.
I saw a lot of fans asking the question, how could Callisto's parents be here when we saw them in Tartarus / the Elysian Fields in previous episodes? For me, this is just, again, a sign of the way that belief systems are changing. The fact that you have this advent of Christianity has kind of reorganized things.
That's why they still have the Elysian Fields.
Yeah, I mean, it still exists, but I mean, we've seen Callisto go herself from Tartarus to hell, so you feel like certain characters are making this
If you can just
change.
flop off a cliff into hell, why can't you go?
I think the angels stole them out of Elysian Fields.
Yeah, that's
and brought
possible.
them.
Being like, we have, we need to
moving
bring you
on
over.
Another place for you.
Yeah. So Joxer is now saying hello to Gabrielle.
Mm-hmm. Did you think this was the appropriate moment for him to be doing this?
No.
What?
Why? I guess why
I don't
not?
know, coming over and face touching and serious face making.
Was dead.
Yeah. I mean, he's been all over this episode.
And her reaction is just pretty blank. She's just kind of like, okay. Gabs isn't into it. But then again, both of them, I feel like they're just so shocked. They just don't.
Yeah.
It's good.
You feel like
like
they're not
that
even
moment
registering what's
muted.
happening.
Everything's muted.
I do think, I'll say it again, Ted Raimi in this episode, really nice acting.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say. I was like, Liv, he's been dramatic acting this whole episode. He's allowed to have a dramatic moment. Yeah.
And we know that this is what was eating at him, is that he was never, he really wanted a moment with Gabrielle, and he gets one now at the end.
Xena and Gabrielle look at each other.
Gabrielle says to Xena, "We're going to be together for eternity."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Says Xena.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this exchange? It's interesting.
Very interesting. It's very interesting.
It's certainly what she says seems reflected in what we just saw. We'll be together in heaven. We'll be together in hell. Mm-hmm. We'll be together somewhere. We might be fighting each other.
Yeah.
And they also know they're going to be reincarnated together.
They're also going to be reincarnated together. Yeah, I do think there's something a bit ambivalent about it. Like, this was not the afterlife they pictured for themselves. And it's alarming in a way. Yeah. So I feel like Gabrielle saying that is sort of asking, like, almost like for comfort. Like, what we went through, like, is that okay with you? Is it okay that that's one of the things that we're going to go through? And I was like, yep.
All right. Yeah, I love it in the unexpectedness of it. That it plays much more realistically, I think, than any other kind of like
absolutely
any other reaction. Like how else are you supposed to deal with something like that? That just you know what I mean?
So glad they made that choice. To play it real.
Yeah, right. It could have been kind of saccharine, like don't worry, we'll be together for eternity. But here, it almost becomes a little sinister in its way. Like this is the future for us. Great.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I do like how this episode is beginning to, even though they've made this commitment to each other, the show is reaching kind of its romantic heights where these characters make so many beautiful declarations.
Swan diving into hell for each other.
And yet even there you have a sense of tension, of it being like, is this good? Is this right? Is this what we want? Like, we had so many conversations, like on the mailbag especially, about soulmates and whether that takes the tension out of the story. And I think, Fallen Angel is a great episode to immediately bring forward, being like, look, they're soulmates. Look at all the drama that still manages to happen between these two, even after being soulmates.
It's a lot. It's a lot to consider. There's a lot in this episode that is gonna, I think, we'll keep coming back to. It's interesting to have this conversation in an episode where they're like diving into hell for each other, and then you have a demon form of Xena saying our love is an end in and of itself, which in any other circumstance
trying to drag Gabrielle down to hell with her just to be with her.
Yeah, would be like a very intense declaration, but you're like, it's got all there's so many layers of oddness like thrown in that are very interesting.
Yeah, you feel that this episode is quite explicitly juxtaposing their love versus this, doing what's right, and saying, like, are these two things opposed? Do they need to pick one? And by Gabrielle deciding, well, we're going to be together for eternity, is that her saying, like, is she basically buying into the rhetoric of Demon Xena? I don't know.
Interesting stuff. And then also we've added a giant framework of new, I don't know, what would we call it? Like pseudo Christianity ideas of like redemption and atonement and stuff, but like you can't really apply it all because it's like its own very specific Xena version.
Certainly, this whole idea of like trading, if you trade places with a demon in hell, if you sacrifice yourself to save someone, you will be in hell and punished, which is, to me, is just such a like brain busting idea that redemption actually leads to punishment. But I guess that there's some logic there.
Well, I loved this last scene. Visually, I thought it was a really great tableau.
Yes, I love this final shot as the camera pulls out and you see everybody. Again, another shot that looked a bit like a religious painting.
Absolutely. I think absolutely, yeah. Xena's sitting there with it looks like a bedsheet, kind of like just draped artistically down.
It feels like her legs are super long. Not that they're not, they are, but like extra long.
Yeah, Gabrielle.
And like those beams of light. Just the way the composition with her in the center like that, with everybody kind of radiating around her.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's really beautiful.
So Gabrielle puts her head on her shoulder, and then slowly kind of sits up straight. Eli is like below.
He drops down to the floor.
Issues.
Yeah.
I do not remember what Joxer and Amorous are doing.
Joxer is standing in front of them, but then kind of paces away. He almost like leaves the tableau. And I think Amorous is off to the side.
But it's just beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. I mean, that's so much of this episode. While being so crazy.
Being visually nuts.
Is beautiful.
It's also really beautiful a lot of the time. Yeah, and introducing a lot of very interesting themes and challenges and ethical and philosophical and theological, is that a word, challenges.
Are you happy to
last 2 seasons.
To see the Christianity up in here?
I am. I don't know that, I can understand if people aren't, but I think it's a really cool addition to this world because I feel like I've said this like a bunch of times, but I just love that the show goes through this like actual real world time period shift. Like it's going from
modernity.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting.
And it was inevitable. Once you saw Eli, you knew that it was coming.
I think one thing that I always find just really interesting about it is how ambivalent the whole show is about it. You know, how not consoling this picture of the afterlife is. You compare it to Hinduism, where you felt like the characters, it helped them. It helped them find their way.
And I think it's still very much a part of the show. Like, I think it's all just, like, together. That's the show to me, is all these things start, like, becoming one.
Yeah, they get knit together into what the characters believe. I definitely agree. I don't think Hinduism disappears. I think it's always there. It was an important part of Gabrielle's journey, and I think she needed to go through that to get to where she is in season 5. So yeah, I don't think the show forgets about Hinduism. But yeah, I do think it's really interesting that Christianity in this episode, it confuses them more than it lights the way from them. You feel like they come out of this being like, so in the afterlife, we're going to be in this whole other battle, you know, that the cycle of violence is going to continue right, you know, through the many layers of reality. Yeah, I do like that there's actually something sort of unhappy here at the end with the introduction of Christianity to the mix.
Yeah, I think, you know, we're going to have a lot of really fun and interesting discussions about how the show continues to use, like, different religious frameworks and ideas and concepts as we go along.
Particularly Christianity now.
I mean, yeah, well, that's a big thing that is actually really a lot of criticisms, I think, that come down on seasons 5 and 6 have to do with the idea of Christianity supplanting everything else and thus making it a more conservative show, and I don't really agree with those, but we'll get to that.
Wow. Yeah, I disagree. Like I said, I feel even the fact that there is this ambivalence about Christianity coming in shows that Christian values aren't necessarily the show's values.
Well, that's the thing, is that I think it's hard to reconcile when you get these things that are much more familiar to us. It becomes like the dominant thing because maybe you understand it more. But I still think that what they're doing is on the level with everything else. Like, the whole show is a camp, postmodern, 90s amazing show that's throwing all this stuff in a blender. And I don't think, to me, anything is being, like, raised above or below anything else. I think it's all just becomes different narratives to tell these amazing stories. So we'll keep going. We'll get there. Yeah.
So what do you guys think, Fallen Angel?
It's great.
Good
I like
start to the season.
Yeah.
I don't think I quite love it as much as you guys. Those issues I outlined are hard for me to get past.
You're going to hell!
But I definitely, you know, mad respect for it, for just being its crazy self and going to such an ambitious place and just kicking off the season literally on a high.
On high. I get it. Also, that big thing that happened at the end, we'll get to that.
The bad touch.
Bad touch is pinned.
Bad touch is in itself a pin.
Yeah, and Liv, my suggestion to you is just try to block out any of the stupid stuff and only focus on the good stuff.
I mean, the good stuff was really good. Yeah. I do think those two scenes, the scene with Xena and Callisto and the scene with Gabs and Callisto, they're amazing scenes. They're top 10
every single
scenes.
time they cut back to dead Xena and Gabrielle.
That's true. And those moments are so good. And as we've said a million times, they ground it in a way that this episode sorely needs. It's really well put together. I think John Fawcett did a great job here. This, just like The Way, this could have gone so wrong and almost does, but he manages to keep it anchored.
Yeah, and Lucy Hudson, Renee, and MVP Ted Raimi. Like, without a talented bunch like that, you're gonna get lost in
the blue screen.
In the blue screen, you really are. So, like, yeah, it just goes to show you how amazing all these people are. Whee!
Cool.
Oh my god,
I think we did it.
Yeah.
So
so much to talk about.
Final thing to say is Michael. Follow us on all the stuff and things.
XenaWarriorPodcast.com. You can find everything there. Please go subscribe and rate and leave review on Apple Podcasts. We are on Twitter at Xena Warrior Pod, on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr, Xena Warrior Podcast. We are on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Xena Warrior Podcast. Yeah.
The power.
The passion.
The podcast.